What's up, everybody? Welcome to PSI Love You XOXO episode 53. I'm one of your hosts, Greg Miller, alongside the future class of video games, Blessing Adeoye Jr.
What's up, Greg?
Not much. What's up with you?
Not much. It's been a fun adjustment this year because we've changed the time of recording of this podcast to 12 noon instead of 2 p.m. as we usually did.
And that was news
year.
to you today.
Yeah. No, for some reason today I was like, I was hanging out, kicking it. Like I'd finished games daily and I was like, oh, sweet. I got a few hours to just like prepare for PS Love You and get some lunch. And I legitimately like put water on the stove, getting ready to boil some ramen. I look at my phone and Greg's like, oh, do you want to come through and record a PlayStation podcast? And in my mind, I was like, oh, Greg's on Beyond and he's inviting me on. I didn't realize that it was time to do
See, when I was going through it, I thought we were just joking. I thought it's that thing where you were late and you're not usually late. So it was that thing of like, I think he doesn't know what's happening. And then, as we go back and forth, do you want to come to a PlayStation show? ... Which one? Ours. I'm down. Come over. And then a break. Oh, shit, it's not at 1. Here you are.
Yeah, again,
ready
Blessing,
to go.
I told you like an hour ago. I'll see you in an hour.
Yeah, and I don't know why in my head I was like, oh, Barry doesn't know how time works. Sweet, I'll see him in an hour.
No,
cool.
You're the one. You're the one who doesn't know how time works. Blessing.
Yeah, that's my bad. I'm sorry for being late. But also I do like this time though because I'm still fresh off of games daily.
Sure.
I still have that energy, and so I don't have that lull. Like during the day, I have a habit of taking naps during the quarantine times, and so like around 2 is when I'd ideally like that nap to hit. But that would be recording time usually, like in the way that schedule worked out last year. And so now that we're doing it fresh off of games daily, now I'm like, cool, I can like wait till after the show to eat lunch. And then I can catch the itis. I don't know if you're familiar with the itis, Greg.
What's the itis?
Oh, so basically, I think this is like this might be a Black culture thing, but like basically, it's when you get tired after eating a meal and like take that you get that drowsiness, you take a nap.
Yeah.
That's what the itis is.
Oh, I love the itis. I definitely feel that, and that's definitely been a struggle of home. And I'm with you of like the energy, lead up into a show, you have it, and then that stoppage afterwards. If there's too long of a gap between them, like that's. I'm glad I like this as well for my Monday. How it works is, I woke up, I built PS I Love You, and did emails, and then played a few games or whatever. And it's been that thing of like I'm ready, let's go. You know what I mean? I'm ready to get out there. I'm ready to get out of the blocks and make a show happen. Now you're gonna get a humdinger of a PS I Love You XOXO today, folks. So strap the fuck in.
Very excited for today's show.
Yeah, it's because
we got some things we're talking about.
Is it because we have special guests?
It is because we have special guests. Yeah,
I know. All right, well, I'll just spoil it. It's Roger. Hey, Roger.
Hi.
Hey, Roger Pocorni's here because he's gonna review a game that is embargoed. So if you're watching live, the stream will end at one point. We'll tell you ahead of time. But if you're watching later, you already know because it's the headline and thumbnail of the show. So what are we even talking about? If you didn't know, ladies and gentlemen, this is PS I Love You XOXO. Each and every week, Blessing and me coming together to nerd out about all things PlayStation. You like doing that. You like having the show, and you go to patreon.com/kindoffunnygames to support it over on patreon.com/kindoffunnygames. Of course, you can write in with your questions, your comments, your concerns. You can give us your PSN profiles for perusal. And of course, you can get the show ad-free and with the exclusive post show we do each and every week. However, hold on. I'm sorry. On patreon.com/kindoffunnygames. Of course, you can also watch live. Like Hyped for Games is, Chris H is, Joy is, Griffin Fennell is. Remember, you can watch live on patreon.com/kindoffunnygames as we record it up until we hit embargoed stuff like we're doing today. Right, Raj?
Right.
if you got no bucks to toss us, it's no big deal. You can go to youtube.com/kindoffunnygames, roosterteeth.com, and podcast services around the globe each and every week to get a brand spanking new episode of PS I Love You XOXO. Of course, remember, you'll have to deal with the ads and you won't get the cool post show, but it's still a pretty dang good show. Housekeeping for you. Blessing, you have a brand new show. It's called The Blessing Show. It's on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames right now. Tell me all about it.
Yeah, it's me and Roger's video essay show where Roger edits, I host and write. And basically every episode we tackle a new topic in gaming in which we can break down and talk about. And so it's up Thursdays, every other Thursday. Last Thursday was the first episode, all about my non-game of the year awards, where I gave out like a bunch of different crazy categories of awards. And so there's like the best Breath of the Wild award, best game that I played despite its flaws, stuff like that. So I highly recommend people go check that out right now on youtube.com. So it's kind of funny games. As a bonus, episode 2 is out this Thursday. Usually it's every other Thursday, but for the first 2 episodes, we wanted to have that back-to-back zinger. And so just like how Tim described it, like WandaVision, how WandaVision had the 2 first episodes back-to-back, we want to do the same thing for the Blessing Show. Yes, Greg Miller.
Yeah, Greg Miller from kindoffunny.com. Did he describe it as a back-to-back zinger? That doesn't sound like how Tim would describe it.
No, I was trying to think of a good term. For some reason, zinger came to mind. And so, yeah,
it's a great term.
Zinger.
I'll back you on zingers if you get on smackers with me.
I'm down. No, I'm down for that trade. That sounds like a great trade.
Cool. Okay.
What do you put the smackers in, Greg?
Your wallet.
No, there's another.
There's another word.
Yeah, there's another term. It was like it started with like a G or something.
The smackers in the. It's like a piggy bank, right? It's like another word for that.
Yeah, you said
Pointers.
something else weird that like didn't seem.
Yeah,
like
like
a real word.
you did have another slang term.
Yeah.
Huh.
It was like
But anyway,
smackers and the gobblers.
Smacklers.
Anyway, very excited.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
It's that thing where I can feel it tickling the side of my brain when you just said, "What did you say? Say it again."
Smackers and the gobblers or something like that.
Smacklers.
Oh shit! Fuck! Oh, it's like
I feel like it is a G word.
it's something like that. Yeah. Coffers. That's it. Thank you very much, Ryan Higgins or Ryan Pawala Higgins in the live chat. Got it for me.
I was gonna say coffins, so I'm glad
you're close. You put the smackers in the coffins. Very excited for Thursday's episode. If people should tune into it, it's gonna be a very good one. I described it as the killer of an episode on today's Games Daily. I don't want to ruin what it's about, but Hitman.
Oh, okay, cool. I like that. Roger, we've kicked you a few times, and you've said one-word answers, and I like that quite a bit. But you're a big part of the Blessing Show. If somebody doesn't know you, Roger Pocorni, who are you?
Yeah, I'm an editor, video content producer over at Kind of Funny. That's the official position. But yeah, no, I'm a video editor, and I've been working on video essays for the last like 5 years of my life. So this has been kind of a dream project between Blessing and I. Him and I have been friends for a long time, and we've always wanted to make something like this. So this is a dream come true. So I hope you guys like it.
Both me, so like I think I've said this before on shows, but like both me and Roger before joining Kind of Funny, both individually made video essays, along with Sad Boy Barrett on the 1s and 2s.
Yeah.
Like all of us were into making video essays before working at Kind of Funny, and it'd be one of those things where I'd watch Barrett's video essays and I'd watch Roger's video essays, and I'd be like, dude, I want to step my game up. And like we would all watch each other's content. I remember like Roger hitting me up about my video essays and being like, dude, like we compliment each other's stuff. And I knew at one point I wanted to work with Roger because Roger is such an excellent editor. Knows how to use things like After Effects, which I don't know how to use. I can just use Premiere Pro, and that's about it. And so like I'm very happy to be working with Roger on this project. Everybody should go check out the Blessing Show episode 1 up right now. Episode 2 coming this Thursday, and it'll be every other Thursday after that.
Hell yeah.
Of course, I appreciate you guys bringing your talents here and doing this. And you say it's a dream come true to work on this show. I, of course, want to reiterate, of course, it's a dream come true for me that, Kind of Funny continues to grow in the way that we're able to bring in incredibly talented folks like yourselves, all 3 of you, and you get to make really, really cool shit here. So thank you for sharing your talents with Kind of Funny.
Thank you.
Be like our Patreon producers, Julian the Gluten-Free Gamer, Sancho West Gaming, and James Hastings. Today, we're brought to you by Purple Mattress. But for now, let's start the show with topic of the show. TOTS. Now, again, YouTube podcast listener, there's no wool to pull back. There's no curtain to pull back for you on what we're talking about here, what the topic of the show is. But for you, Griffin, Ryan, David, Chris, Nika, who are all watching right now live, we have to pull the curtain in front of you. We have an embargo that does not line up with the live recording of PS I Love You XOXO, but does line up with the publishing of PS I Love You XOXO. So what we're going to do for you right now watching on live is that we're going to cut the stream because that's how we'll do it. And then when we're done talking about it, the stream will come back online and you'll have it there. Right, Barrett?
Hopefully.
Hopefully that's not. I mean, because again, you're just cutting the stream that's going from OBS to them, not ending the stream on YouTube.
Yeah. That's how I plan to do it. I've never done this before. Like the last
we have done this before.
The last time I did this was in the studio where we had like a way to actually like mute your guys' audio just to the stream, still record locally and all this stuff. And like this is my first time doing it at home, so hopefully it all works out. You know.
Well, just stop streaming on OBS, and I think you'll be all right. And if not, everybody, fuck you. We got you, you Patreon dopes. It's too late now. No, we'll make it right. We'll figure it out.
Cutting
all right, so here we go.
In 3, 2, 1. All right,
now
I'm gonna let's like hang out for a couple seconds, kill some time. I'm gonna wait for YouTube
because that's how the YouTube thing goes. Yeah,
it's crazy how they gave us God of War Ragnarok this early.
I can't believe it either. It's gonna be a stealth release tomorrow morning. God of War Ragnarok. They're like, make sure it gets out there and it has to go that way.
Yeah. So crazy what Kratos did to all those NPCs.
All right, so on YouTube,
that's what you could come up with. That's what you could come up to.
I don't know where I was going with it.
What a spoiler! what
he did to all of
those NPCs. What the fuck does that even mean?
Which NPCs are they though? You don't know. It could be Atreus. Could be the fucking two brother goblin things that sell you shit.
Sure. Yeah, I like them all.
True. YouTube is saying that it's getting no data, so I'm assuming that we are no longer live. I'm not streaming anywhere from OBS, so we should be good.
That's how it works. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for your Hitman 3 review in progress. That's right. We have Hitman. Notably, of course, this is how the embargoes line up. Notably, though, even though it's PS I Love You, we didn't get PS5 copies of this. We got every other copy of the game, and they was like, hey, codes for PS5 aren't ready yet. So all the impressions you're going to get are based on not the PlayStation 5 version of it. But I don't imagine this is going to be a Cyberpunk situation. I think this is legitimately just they couldn't get their shit together to get the codes right in the right way or whatever. So we're calling it out that way. Roger, how much have you played, and what did you play on?
I don't know the exact hours, but I rolled credits. I finished the game.
Wow, okay.
And I've been playing it on PC.
Okay. Blessing, what about you?
I've been playing on PC. I've played the first 3 levels, and I want to say there are. Roger can probably answer this. Like, I think there are like 6 levels overall.
Yes, I believe so.
And so I played almost half of the game because I've not finished that 3rd level, but I spent quite a bit of time in there. And I've probably played like 5, 6-ish hours.
Okay. And then for me, Barry, you're not playing, right?
No, I haven't had the time to start it.
Just making sure. I want to include you if you were. For me, I'm playing on Xbox Series X. I've played I'm into the 3rd mission now, and I would say, it's a few hours of doing it that way. Roger, you seem like, since you're the one who rolled credits, you're the biggest one. Give me your background on Hitman. Are you a huge Hitman fan?
I've been some of my most formative memories on like the PlayStation 2 when playing Blood Money. Blood Money has been like probably top 10 favorite video games of all time. And I've followed the Hitman series pretty religiously ever since. I really liked Absolution. I know some people didn't. And Hitman 1 and 2, I guess, the 2016 and 2018 have been really good. I like them. I don't think I've like super love them as much as maybe some people. I think they're great games, but I feel like it's always been missing something. And I don't want to get too ahead of the Hitman, my thoughts on Hitman 3, but I feel like Hitman 3 has kind of rectified that.
Well, I mean, jump into it. Because I know Blessing, we've talked about this many times on this show, right? You are a huge Hitman 1 and 2 fan. You know what I mean? The new Hitman.
Yeah, no, I loved Hitman 2016 and Hitman, was it 2018? Was it 2019? Yeah. I forget what year they came out.
2018.
Hitman 2. A modern Hitman 2. Love those games. You know, those were the 2 that made me really get into the series. Like I played Absolution and I liked it. And, you know, I thought it was like a fun action stealth game. And like I remember playing like Blood Money and stuff at a friend's house who owned Hitman and watching him do like the whole there was like a specific mission where you're in a neighborhood and I think like you arrive in like an ice cream truck or something and like you got to fuck around that neighborhood and do shit. And like I thought that was a pretty fun level to watch. But yeah, Hitman 1 and 2 on the PS4 are the ones that really got me into it. And like Hitman 3 definitely feels like it is following in the footsteps of those for me.
And then for me, my background on it, right? Hitman's always been something I want to love, and I just can't make it work. And that goes as far back as the original Hitman on PS2. I remember getting that for Christmas and popping it in. Granted, I was already out of college, just to give you a reference for how old I am. So not as old as Granny Hands, Nick Carpino. I remember getting it and even then being like, oh, like this isn't exactly what I wanted. This isn't what I was looking for. And not that I'm taking away from the quality of the games. It's just not for me. And so Hitman 1 and Hitman 2 in, modern times now have been the same way. And Hitman 3 with the shortcuts and stuff, I was hoping I would be approaching it in a different way where I was going to finally have it click for me. And I haven't. But again, this isn't I'm not talking to the quality of the game. I'm talking about things that don't work for me or just isn't what's engaging for me. And this episode, we'll talk about me picking up another game that's old as hell that I'm like into now. So Roger, starting with you, I think you have the most interesting perspective, being somebody who didn't click with Hitman 1 and 2, but Hitman 3 seems to be working for you. Why?
Yeah, so I should elaborate. Shouldn't say it didn't click with me. It just wasn't as, I feel like Hitman Blood Money and Absolution felt like complete packages, and I never felt like Hitman 1 and 2 were able to bridge the gap that Hitman 1 kind of flubbed with the episodic nature of everything.
Gotcha.
I felt like the episodic nature of Hitman 1 kind of, I shouldn't say, I guess taint for me. It tainted like the whole sense of the story, and I felt like I never got like a full picture of what the Hitman story was trying to go for, and it felt like this is just trying to set up Paris and all these different locations around the world. It didn't felt like it was a true Hitman game. Hitman 3 feels like a true Hitman game.
Interesting.
And I feel like for me, it was the full combination of that amazing intro, which I don't know if we can get into, but it's Dubai and it feels very, very like Tom Cruise Mission Impossible.
Yeah. And that's the exact thing that came to mind for me. Yeah. Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. Like it has the exact same vibes, and it feels like that's the thing I like about the game so far is that from the first 2 missions, it feels like they're very much referencing a specific action set piece. And so the first mission in Hitman 3 feels like it is trying to be Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, whereas the second mission feels like it's trying to be Knives Out. And I really like that. But continue, Roger.
Yeah. No, so it felt like, okay, they're going for something big. I feel like Hitman 1 and 2, they kind of start off very small, and the big set pieces are towards once you get into like the real first level. Like there's usually a tutorial level, but it's like right off the bat, it's like, okay, here we're doing something big, and it felt very different. And the thing that kind of set that off for me was the mission structure. Now, I don't know if you guys have done like the story missions that reveal like the blue little like ping that pops up. In Hitman 1 and 2, this is maybe a very specific detail that I'm noticing, but Hitman 1 and 2, they're very linear, right? Like they were very like, okay, like a masseuse is like walking into the building. It's like, hey, this masseuse kind of looks like you. You can like follow him and become him and like kill the main target that way. In Hitman 3, the way that they do those linear mission structures are very they're very similar, but then when they get down to it, they become less linear as they go on. And that's something that I feel like was always missing in Hitman 1 and 2. And it might seem from like the outside looking in like a very like minuscule thing, but I think.
Can you give me examples? Can you like cite Dubai stuff?
Yeah. So in Dubai, right, there is this, there's one where you basically, it's like an information desk. And it's like, oh, we can like hack into the mainframe. And I feel like in Hitman 1 and 2, they would have just given you like the little ping to go to like the server room, and then that would be it. Okay. In Hitman 3, it does the same thing, but then it starts to throw wrenches into the equation. It's like, okay, the guards are on you now. You need to figure out a way to hide. You need to figure out a way to adapt to the situation. And I've never had that happen to me in Hitman 1 and 2. And gotcha. I think that is the missing key that I didn't realize, that when I was playing Hitman 1 and 2, it felt like I didn't have to follow those little missions that popped up. Of course, you could play the game however you wanted to, but I always felt like I was missing something if I didn't. And I feel like this is like the perfect middle ground of having a linear structure for people that maybe don't love or new to the series and want to have like a way to kind of find out the formula through like a guided experience, but also having it exciting for someone like me who has been playing the series for decades now, right?
Well, that's the thing about it, right? Where there is such a wealth of things to do in the game. And I think that works both for it and against it for me personally. Because for me, I had a great time doing Dubai and going through, and there's 2 different targets and taking them out, right? But when it was done and they pop up that giant grid with all the things you could do, all like the mini in-level achievements you can get, it was cool to look through them, but then to go over and have it be, you know, murder him this way or do this thing or wear this disguise, it was very much like, oh, I like that you're doing that, but I'm done. Like I've for me personally, and I don't know if this is because of who I am, you know, loving story-based games, loving not linear experiences in a negative sense, but linear in terms of you telling me your story. when I was done. And then even just seeing the thing, I'm like, oh, I know what you want me to do. Like, you know, I picked up the fuse, but I never saw where to use it. But this thing's telling me where to use it. So now it's just, do I want to replay this level and go to get that fuse and then go to get that thing? Like you're saying, Raj, there's so many different factors to it and little things that could change and go, right? Like there is this like, you know, tumbling waterfall of information and things that'll then branch out and go down their own streams, right? Even when I like thought I had it in Dubai, where, you know, there's one guy that I was like, oh, I have rat poison that I picked up way earlier. I'll poison his whiskey. And I poisoned it and I walked out and I was like, fucking got him. And then I was walking around and he just did not die. And I was like, what the fuck did I do wrong? So, you know what I mean? I got caught and I did it again. I came up there, I poisoned him again. I hung out, you know, and it wasn't that it killed him. He then went to go be sick in the bathroom. And I was like, all right, go drown him in the fucking toilet.
That's a rookie mistake. That was like, I remember playing Hitman 1 and in the Paris mission, they had that exact thing of you can go and poison the target. And I was like, oh, I'm going to kill this guy. And I followed him. He was just throwing up in the bathroom. And I was like, what? And then you learn that there's a medic poison and then there is actual lethal poison and they have a difference. And like the reason why you want to use the medic poison is then you can follow the person and then kill them solo in the bathroom. Yeah.
And so like that was it for me in terms of that, where it's like, I love that there's so much going on there. And I think obviously it's what I think you even mentioned, Raj, right? Of like Hitman 1 and 2 are so beloved and have such a, you know, loving audience that thinks they are so great. I think of all the giant bomb streams and the funny things that would come out of those, right? I know that there's an audience that wants to check every one of those boxes. And I'm like, totally, I get that. It wasn't for me. And so like just playing through it is how I was doing it and moving on to the next thing.
Yeah, I think for me, it feels like such a fun playground, which is why I enjoy it so much, is the idea of going back in and I following the specific storylines for one mission, you know, just so I can get that experience of, okay, this is how this is an idea of a way that I can kill this target, and then going back in and being like, all right, how can I get creative? Like, what are the different ways in which I can do this? That'll like push the limits of the items within this level, or like push the limits of how fast I can do it, or push the limits of like, you know, how many of these different puzzle pieces can I move around in order to manipulate in my way. That's the thing that I enjoy about it. I also echo what Roger says about the storylines or the mission lines in Hitman 3 specifically. Like they feel a lot more thought out. Like Hitman 3 very much feels like the culmination of their idea of Hitman 1 and 2 being this episodic world of assassination thing. I watched the No Clip doc recently that they did on Hitman, and they kind of talked about how, yeah, like this felt like the right way to do it because talking about episodic, this felt like the right way to do it because of the way that people would play the previous Hitman games, where they'd go in and like people would like go online and create specific contracts for other people to do. And like there's that, the Hitman community loves going in and replaying levels with different ideas in mind, which is why they started doing them episodic so that they could release one level at a time, because that would then encourage people to just focus on that one level and have a blast with it and then be done, whether you want to play it once or play it 100 times. Hitman 3, even though it's called Hitman 3, it really does feel like Hitman Season 3, because the menu UI is the same, the in-game UI is the same, the controls are the same. Like, I would say the game, and this could be because I'm playing it on PC and will be a next-gen release, and so that's going to factor into it too. The game looks a bit better, but it doesn't look dynamically different. It doesn't feel like a different... Oh, go for it.
Just for visuals, it's gorgeous on Xbox Series X. So I assume it's going to be the same on PlayStation 5. But even walking in, like doing the Knives Out level, you're talking about the murder mystery that's gotten so much talk about. Like walking in there and seeing like the polished floors and seeing the light reflecting off. I'm like, holy shit, this is good looking.
Yeah, there was a good moment where I was like just staring at the floor in that level because I couldn't believe. But yeah, like Hitman 3 feels like it is them layering on top just new content into this already established space that was Hitman 1 and Hitman 2, because everything's the same, but it's new levels. And with that, it feels like they've taken the learnings of Hitman 1 and 2, where you are getting Dubai, which is the first level, and you go into it, and the way you start off is like this parachute onto the building, and like it feels like this cool cinematic moment, and then it transitions.
It's dope, right? Of parachuting down, getting there, walking in, and then you come in through the window and boom, you're into your suit, whatever, and like adjusting your tie. I was like, that's a fucking awesome moment.
And it's like, wow, that's cool. And then you walk up the stairs and you do get this moment of, oh yeah, they're introducing the tallest building in Dubai, and it's the unveiling. And so you have them like doing the whole thing where they cut the rope, or not the rope, the ribbon. Yeah. And you get like the lights peering into the windows, and it's like, wow, this game looks gorgeous. And you have like the crowds and all that stuff, and that creates a moment from which the mission pretty much kicks off, and you go and do your own thing. The specific mission storyline, the one I did at least, in that level, felt like, compared to previous Hitman games, had a lot more to it in terms of, okay, you're going to, I'm not going to spoil like what it is, but like you basically go through the motions the way that you would imagine, but it feels like there's a lot more exposition and a lot more thought and a lot more, hey, go here and you're going to like interact with this person here. And in order to fill this mission, you're basically going to have to go on an entirely different side mission that this person wants you to go on in order to actually like come back around and like get your moment with this character, which I think is really cool. And that then feeds into the Dartmoor, which is like the Knives Out level, which is this murder mystery. And like you get to take part or take the role of the detective. And like, again, no spoilers, but the way in which the mission story pans out in that level feels way more thought through and cool, and like has reveals and has moments and still provides that level of freedom that Roger is talking about, where the more you get into it, like by the time I finished that story mission, like it felt like more so its own story and moment in itself than like you do A to then do B to then do C, which is murder the target. It feels like you are going through this different like side story, so you understand like the situation that's going on in this level to make it unique, which I think is phenomenal.
Which is wild, because today I was recording some B-roll for the Borderlands show, the Blessing show, for the Blessing show. And,
so many B shows.
Yeah, so many B shows. For the Blessing show, and I redid that mission. I was like, let me just not do that private investigator like a whole side mission. And I was in and out in like 20 minutes, but like it's so wild that you could just completely miss that. Like that is like, it feels like its own level, its own game almost. And the fact that you can just sidestep that completely, or even do there's another mission where you can become a photographer or whatever within that own level. So it's like, it's so wild how many levels there are, layers to this entire stage.
And that again, even though I don't, when we get our PS5 codes, I want to go in and play some more and do some more stuff. And it is that thing of, it's me never being able to rectify what the objective of the game is and what's going on. Like even though I didn't connect with it, I liked the episodic approach, right? And I mean, I didn't connect with the world of Hitman. I liked the episodic approach because then it was like, just replay this and have fun with it. But the way they do layer on, there's a story on top of the game, right? There's a story on top of Dubai and then Dartmoor. Is that what it's called? Like there's stuff happening that are like major plot points to it. But then to be inside the house and like you're talking about, Roger, I started from the outside, and on my first playthrough, I did not go the detective route at all, right? Like I just got the maintenance guy, then I got a security guy, then I was walking all around, and then it all went fucking foobar, of course, and I died, and I was like, all right, I'm not doing this right, and I came back in and got the detective and did all these things. But when you go into the start menu and here's your, for that one in particular, here's who you're supposed to kill, here's what you're supposed to pick up, here are your 2 objectives, this is how you complete this level. But then to go off into the side area and see, well, there's somebody's trying to take a photo over here, they're trying to take a family photo, and then like they had all these different little stories that I was like, oh, like that is interesting, and I do want to do that and see what that is. But then in the same breath, like, but there's this overarching plot. Like, it's like the narrative dissonance of like what's going on and why I'm there. And like, me personally just trying to wrestle with how I play it.
It definitely is kind of narrative dissonance, the game, because like they have this overarching plot that is Hitman 3, and that is the World of Assassination trilogy. But I personally have not cared about it. And there are moments in Hitman 3 where they are trying to push it. And like, once like getting into mission 3, I was like, okay, this seems like it's more focused on the overarching narrative. Let's see what this is about.
Yeah, 100%.
It's just harder for me to like want to care about it. Like I love Hitman 3 for the goofs and for the fun bullshit that goes on within the levels. And so like in Hitman 2, I forget the name of the exact level, but there's basically another neighborhood level that is homaging the neighborhood level that people love from one of the old Hitman games that I was talking about before. And I love that because basically in that mission, I went through, hung out in like this backyard barbecue with folks because I was disguised as one of the attendants, and was just like kicking it and like talking to all the NPCs and getting to understand their stories and what's going on. And like I'm doing that, 1, to gain intel so I can figure out how to kill my target, but then 2, because they do such a good job with NPC behavior in that game and like the looping roles that NPCs and characters have, that like I find it so fun just to follow characters to understand like, okay, what's going on. Like in Dartmoor, there's there's a couple of characters that are basically like house workers, because Dartmoor takes place in a mansion, and so they have all these maids and staff and all this stuff. and there are like a couple of them that have like this relationship going on, and like it doesn't seem like a thing that's core to that level at all, but every time I pass by those characters, they're like usually talking to each other and flirting with each other, and if I get closer, if they see me, they're like, oh, anyway, I'll see you later or whatever, and they're doing the thing where they're trying to hide that. That's the shit that I love about Hitman 3
100%.
and Hitman in general, is like they do such a good job with those NPC behaviors, and it's done in a way that I wish I could see more of in games that had like bigger and huger or bigger scope. Like if Cyberpunk 2077 or like a big RPG did a similar thing where they had characters that had behavior like that, like I'd love to see where that go, because in Hitman, for a game that is more condensed, it has more has more of the freedom to mess around with those inner workings, because the levels are obviously not a big open world. That stuff feels so fascinating and fun and satisfying, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, I think, that's one of the things I would definitely hats off to them on, is especially in the mansion level, like every little side conversation I would stop and listen to, right? And I think, especially when I was like dressed as a mansion guard, like, there's a couple ways to blend in and like just stand there, next to the stairs and like listen to, these people who are so self-involved with themselves and this family and their whole story, talk about and reference what I'm going after. But then, to go downstairs and find like the, spoiled son there hitting on the staff, and then he leaves the room and I'm following the maid who runs into somebody else, is like, watch out for that guy. And she's like, I got it. It's like there's so much stuff going on in terms of just wanting to look, if you want to be lost in that level and lost in that world and see what's going on.
Yeah. And in a way too, like playing through the levels the first time does also feel like training for those levels, where like I understand the idea of I do not want to replay this game a billion times. Like I'm not that type of player. On the other hand, like for me, somebody who does want to go into certain levels multiple times, whether it be because of leaderboards or whatever else, like it does, that first playthrough feels fun and satisfying because of the mission stories. But then, Greg, I don't know how much you're aware of like elusive targets, but they're basically like the live service element of the game, where I
remember when Sean Bean was one of them. Like I've been around long enough covering games that I've seen plenty of the elusive targets.
Yeah, like IO Interactive will basically drop in targets that will be available for like a week or so, and you have one shot to like try and take out that target, and it feels like they're putting you to the test. And it's that type of thing that I feel like makes Hitman truly shine, because it is the idea of trying to be that master assassin and like trying to understand a level so well that even when a huge wrench gets thrown in, no pun intended, because you can throw wrenches in the game and hurt people, but like when a huge wrench gets thrown in to the level, it feels like all right, let's see what I can do. Let's see if I can actually take this guy out in one go, or let's see if I can beat Timur Hussein or like Yusef Magid's high score on this level by like doing things quicker and more silently and all that. And again, like that's the stuff that I look forward to with the game, and Hitman 3 feels like it's going to be a like for what it is, which is almost like a level pack, but like with more enhanced levels. It feels like it's going to serve that stuff well.
I want to jump off one thing there, where you're talking about, replaying him, doing him, and your first time through the story being enough. I get that. Like when I was playing it and like I'm failing at it, I'm very much not frustrated by it. I'm much like, this is supposed to be like this is you learning the map and you learning where it is, and so you don't like, there was one part of I was trying to find one character on the map today and it was taking me forever. It's that thing of learning the twist turns, what door leads to what key does what, and how that all works out. So yeah, you can come through and do a clean run, and I totally get that challenge of not only the boards but yourself, right? Of like, I'm going to infiltrate as a janitor. I'm going to get this done. Or I'm going to infiltrate as, whatever servant in Dubai, and I'm going to get this done. Like, I get that and I respect that. It's just for me of like finishing it. I'm like, that was a lot of fun, but do I want to listen to those conversations again? Do I want to go find that piece of paper again, kind of thing?
Yeah.
Roger, I think I cut you off there. Sorry.
No, I was also going to, I'll actually go for it, Roger.
No, continue. Sorry.
Well, I was also going to shout out the fact that like as you complete levels 2, you get like new items and stuff, and like shortcuts also. But like you also get like my one thing playing through so far is that I don't have the lock pick, which can basically like pick any lock in the level, and like I miss that thing so much. And like I know for a fact once I unlock that thing, I'm gonna have a blast going through these levels again. And so that's another thing I wanted to shout out.
Yeah, and that's my whole thing of it, where even though it still hasn't clicked with me, I want to give this one more time because I like so many parts of it. I'm not at all trying to say, especially in a review so far, as we call these things, right, where it's never meant to be the definitive one, unless you're Roger, who went through it and knows everything. Like, it is like there's so many interesting ideas there, and I see them all, and I want to go through and do it a few times to actually get the feel of it and get through on it and get trophies.
Question from the peanut gallery here. Hitman is always these recent Hitmans, like whenever one comes out, I'm like, I should play that. I think I'd be really into it. And then I never end up doing. Can I just jump into this one, or do y'all think that I need to? Okay.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, and you can also because it has backwards compatibility for a video game where you can get all the levels from 1 and 2, and they all work within it. So that's I think
you have to buy I think you have to buy like the access pass or already have Hitman 1 and 2. But yeah, like all those levels go into Hitman 3, and like the cool thing about it is that it'll have all the mechanics that are available in Hitman 3, and so like I think that means that you'll have. Don't like. I guess, or maybe fact check me on this, but I think you will start off the levels with like a camera, because the camera is now like a default item in Hitman 3. And then you'll have things like all the stuff that was added in Hitman 2 is then retroactive for Hitman 1. And then also for VR, you can also have that for the missions from Hitman 1 and 2, which is pretty cool.
Cool.
My thing, if I had like a negative of this game, but it's more like like 1 and 2 as well. Like I feel like it's very easy to cheese this game. Like when it comes to like just having a million like bricks in your pocket, like you could just walk right. And I feel like, and that's not like that's like part of the fun of the game.
The things that I've done with coins in this game, I've lured so many targets just into like a vacant room with me, because I'm like, okay, my target is walking by and I'm in this room. I'm just gonna flip this coin onto the ground, and they walk in, and I'm like, gotcha, bitch, and I like murder them. It is such a viable strategy that like I'm definitely with you, Roger. That it's like it can feel cheap, but on the other hand, I kind of like it because it feels like the game is giving me that freedom.
Yeah, well, I really like it. I just wish that there was like some form of like a modifier, like almost like Hades, like after the end game, when you can go in, you can start to like lower down your health a little bit or lower the amount of items you can have. I think there's some type of system where you can't have a million things in your pocket at all times would be helpful. That's just one thing that I was thinking about last night, because I feel like it gets a little bit too easy at points.
Dude, I literally yesterday I realized that I didn't have coins on the mission I was on, because it didn't start me off with coins, and my target was doing the thing where I was in a vacant room and they were walking by for whatever reason, and I was like, fuck, how do I get this guy into my room? And I go over and I find like a screwdriver that's in the room, and I'm like, okay, this will do it. I grab the screwdriver and I throw it at the door, and he's like, oh, what was that? And he does the thing where he walks in, and I was like,
question mark above his head.
Yeah, question mark above his head. And he walked in, and I was like, gotcha, bitch. And I murdered him, and it felt so good.
It's those moments of satisfaction, right? And even when for me, especially being such a new player to it, of getting it done and then trying to get out. And like in Dubai, it was the worst where I did it, and I had a servant disguise on or whatever that worked for everybody except for like the lead servants or whatever. So like I was trying to get away from them, but I couldn't figure out how to get down. So I was like walking by them over and over again, like my heart's pounding of like, am I going to be able to escape without them blowing the whole thing and getting in the whole way? Raj, as somebody who's seen it all, what's your favorite map?
Ooh, I think it has to be the second level, the mansion, the murder house. Yeah, I think that was just such a creative way to use, and it's also so it's big, but it's also small. You can get, it's not like too unruly, because I feel like some of these maps sometimes can get a little bit too big, where it has multiple buildings and underground areas. So I feel like that's like the perfect mixture of, it's small, but it's also large enough where you can get lost and find different things in your third playthrough or whatever. So yeah, for sure.
Are you planning to keep playing, Raj, even though you've rolled credits?
Yeah, the Hitman is always that series that I come back to when I'm bored or whatever, or I want just something to toil away at. So I'm definitely going to come back to Hitman 3 specifically, a bunch. I think Hitman 2, for some reason, those maps didn't click with me as much, but Hitman 3, something about these maps, and I think also we talked about the story very, like I'm with Blessing, like with the story, like I didn't really care about Hitman 1 or 2 story, and Hitman 3 for some reasons, like it felt, I didn't always get it because I didn't really care about Hitman 1 or 2, but I was interested in what was happening.
There's some shit that goes down where it's like, I want to know. I wish I was more excited about this, and it might be worth going back and playing the other two so I can understand the context around this.
Yeah, you talk about, I agree that you can jump in and just play Hitman 3, but it's very much for me and Barrett, I think, who, I've touched Hitman 1 and I touched Hitman 2, but not even nearly enough to know what the fuck's going on. You drop into Hitman 3 and it gives you like all this text with VO of what's happening. I'm like, and then the cutscenes start happening, and then the cutscene between mission 2 and 3, I was like, well, this seems real extreme. I think I understand what's happening.
Honestly, it's legitimately the same for me, because even while playing Hitman 1 and 2, I did not give a fuck about the cutscenes and what's going on between missions, just because it felt like a bunch of, it's Agent 47 and he's being exiled maybe, or like what, he's working for these people, but actually they're actually these people, and it's like,
it's a double cross.
This feels like the most like, hey, this is a spy espionage story, the game, and just have fun. And that's kind of how I played it. That said, I cannot wait for these guys to make James Bond, because that is going to be off the chain, especially if they're able to nail the story stuff, because it feels like Hitman 3 feels like they're kind of setting up for, all right, what does it look like when you do inject more narrative into the actual core missions, and James Bond, with like the amount of gadgets that character has, and the amount of like what happens if you put James Bond in a mission where you do have the goal of extract this specific information from this specific target and then take out this other, or maybe, I don't know if James Bond ever assassinates people, but you got to extract this specific information. Let's say that. Does he kill?
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
He kills people.
I don't know. I don't know if he was like Batman or whatever. I've seen limited James Bond movies. I saw Skyfall, and that was actually pretty fun. But yeah, what does that look like in a James Bond sense when you have to like identify who certain targets are and all that stuff? Like, it seems like Hitman 3 is preparing for that a bit, and I cannot wait to see how they actually pull that off, because I think that's going to be a very good game.
Yeah, I hope so. Blessing, are you excited then to get your PlayStation? Because that's the whole reason you haven't played more of this, right? I remember, I think it was you and Jeffy Grub tweeting about this, right? Of like, you want to play more Hitman, but you want to you're having it on your console, right?
Yeah, no, I like right now I have the PC version, and I've been trying to like hold off on playing too much of it, because I know I'm gonna play it again on PS5. I've played the Dartmoor mission, being the murder mystery mission, twice now. And funny enough, I did the same exact, like I followed the same steps twice. I don't know why I didn't do like a different story thing, but I'm still obsessed with the murder mystery that like I just decided to do it over again. I'm waiting to get it on the PS5 so I can actually play again and do the whole thing. One, because I want to be able to play it there and try out VR and do all that different stuff. But then also leaderboards for the game I find to be pretty fun. And so like I mentioned Yusef and Timur earlier, but like on Hitman 2, they're on the top of a lot of my leaderboard levels. And I like that competition. And so I plan to like go after them next in Hitman
3. And one thing I want to, before we get too far out of it, you talked, Bless, about how Hitman 3 uses the same UI, uses the same everything. It does feel like an expansion in some ways. Do you think it's justified in being Hitman 3? Is it a letdown to you? Or is it like if you were paying for it, would you be not upset, but like, oh man, you want more out of the third game in a series? Or does it make sense that they've just stuck with what's working, giving you more content?
I think it makes sense. Like Hitman 2 did the exact same thing and felt like the exact same thing. And like I paid full price for that. And like I didn't feel bad about it, because I feel like it would have been priced similarly anyway if they did it the way that they envisioned it from the start, where it was Hitman Season 2, Hitman Season 3. I think it would have been priced similarly. And I think it works because it does feel substantial. Like I am going to end up putting in 10 hours, 15 hours, maybe way more than that into these games through playing. Like if I just play the base levels, I imagine it'll pan out around like 9 to 12 hours. And I'm going to replay them, and I'm going to get like my money's worth out of it in that way. And so I'm down for it in that sense. And yeah, like even with them calling it Hitman 2 and Hitman 3, I don't think it's too weird regardless, because it does feel like the fulfillment of that original vision in that way.
And then Raj, for you've said so much already, you've gotten the deepest into it. Anything you haven't touched on that you want to?
No, I think that I think that this, for me at least, feels like a more substantial jump from Hitman 1 to 2. From Hitman 1 to 2 didn't feel that substantial. Hitman 2 to 3 feels a lot more substantial. And excellent. I think that's just a lot of the budget that they put behind the story, behind those motion graphics parts that they have, which is wild and they're really pretty. I feel like this feels like the definitive Hitman, what they were trying to go for from the beginning, and I'm glad that it's like finally happened, and this is Hitman what I wanted from 2016 on. So yeah, it's rad.
Yeah, I'm excited to see for tomorrow, or when you see this on YouTube and podcast services, to see the review roundup for Games Daily and see where it is, because I know again how beloved this is. I guess final question for me for you guys is people who have more skin in the game, know more about it, and play these games and enjoy them more. Do you think this is, and this is a weird one to say, I guess, but like, is this the breakout version of Hitman? Is this the one that gets even further to more people? I feel like one was caught people off guard. One was cool. It was different. Hitman 2 felt like it was serving that audience, but it didn't feel like it really made a more mainstream jump, I guess. Do you think this is we're going to see more people with PS5s and Series X's and want that new game, or is that going to hit with them?
Especially with this is the first one without Square, right?
That's true. Yeah.
Hitman 2, I don't think
Warner Brothers. Yeah. Hitman 2 is published by Warner Brothers. This is their first completely by themselves.
Okay. My bad.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's like Hitman 3 itself is going to be like the breakout thing, but for me, I think that in a year or so, once they have the whole collection for like $60, because they're going to do that. They're going to do 1, 2, and 3, one package.
Yeah.
And that might be the big breakout where they're like, hey, here's like next gen, everything is one package, clear cut, 1, 2, and 3, full game. I think that might be like a huge boost for sales and maybe help bring like another form of relevance to Hitman. So yeah, I think that would be it. I don't know if necessarily this game is it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think it's a rough one, because I think if Hitman 1 didn't do it and Hitman 2 didn't do it, then I don't think Hitman 3 will blow up in any way that is more substantial than those. Granted, I've not finished the game. Maybe the last 3 levels are immaculate. But judging from what I've played, it seems like it is going to be that same kind of like, okay, cool. The audience that loves Hitman are going to love this game. And hopefully through that, we get more people jumping on. And it is like this slow burn of people realizing that Hitman's awesome, and that'll then probably flow into the next game. Though who knows what the next game is going to be after James Bond, because they're calling this like the finale of the trilogy. And so maybe Hitman 4 feels completely different or looks completely different. We don't know. Yeah. That said, I do think this game is set up for success more so than the previous two, because it is this new, like it is this next gen game that is coming out at the beginning of the year. It has a lot of freedom in terms of games that are releasing around it. Hitman 2, I believe, came out in the fall when it came out. And so like for this game to come out in January and for the next month to look like Destruction All-Stars, and I believe Far Cry got delayed. Yeah, Riders Republic also got delayed. There's Persona 5 Strikers. Like, it's not a busy couple of months for the video games industry. You can commit
to this, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you can commit to this, and I think
you think the medium's coming, but again, like
the medium
its own amount of hype behind it.
Yeah, this game has a lot of space to shine, which I think is going to be great for it. But it's also that thing of like, besides Metal Gear Solid, like what are stealth games that break out and become huge mainstream successes?
Sure.
It's hard to really, especially like modern successes, it's hard to really like narrow that down, because I don't think these games translate as well for huge mainstream success. That said, at the same time, I don't think they necessarily need to. Like IO's not like this big, huge AAA company that's under a AAA publisher. Like I think Hitman probably does well enough for them that they can then go on to make James Bond, and maybe that'll then be a breakout success for them. And I think that'll work. And so I think Hitman 3 is going to probably do what it needs to do.
Just to give you some context and answer your question here. So yeah, Hitman 2 released November 13th, 2018, the same day as Spyro Reignited Trilogy, the day before Fallout 76, and then 3 days before Pokemon Let's Go, Pikachu, and Eevee. Wow. So, like, it came out the day before a trash fire of a game that like took all like pretty much took all of the kind of space for news and stuff like that, and then a couple days before like I would say a significant enough Pokemon game. Yeah, and I remember that game coming out, and like I didn't get to it until maybe like a month or so later, and I was already into Hitman, and so I think that speaks to how busy that time was. Hitman 3, I think definitely is set up for success comparative to the first two, but again, we'll see how many people pick it up,
especially with how passionate this fan group, the fan base is. I think this is like the culmination of like so much good word of mouth and I think that it's going to pay off in the next year.
Yeah,
for sure.
And also, like Roger mentioned, like the complete edition that will have everything in it. Right now, if you buy it on PC for I think the first week, or pre-order it, I believe you will get Hitman 1 and maybe Hitman 2 levels in it also, which is a great deal. Like that is a lot of levels.
Yeah, I'm reading on IGN, Adam Bankers. Those who own Hitman and Hitman 2 on PC will be able to import locations into Hitman 3 for free, although not at launch. IO Interactive announced the news today on Twitter and revealed that even though the import feature won't be available on January 20th when the PC version launches exclusively on the Epic Games Store, the Hitman 1 Game of the Year Access Pass will be free to all players who pre-purchase or purchase Hitman 3 in the first 10 days after release to help make up for it. So that would include that, yeah.
That makes a lot of sense because when I opened up the game, it automatically said, "Hey, you can import your levels." And I clicked on it, and it 404'd. I was like, that makes sense. Okay,
I got nothing. All right.
Like the issue is that like Hitman 3 is Epic exclusive, and so like if you own the game if you own Hitman 1 and 2 on Steam, I don't think those carry over in the same way. And then like there's like weirdness around Hitman 2 and whether I don't think that's on Epic Games Store either. So there's like just a bunch of bullshit around that in general. But yeah, like if right now, if you get the full package that does include Hitman 1, Hitman 2, Hitman 3, whether that be on PC or on console, that is significant. Like that is a lot of content. Like that feels like Hitman 3 in a way feels like the dream Hitman game in that way, which
I think that's one of the reasons it's going to be, it has such a shot. Because I think for years, even if you've ignored it, you've heard that Hitman's good. You know, somebody on a podcast has been talking about how much they love Hitman and going and doing this. And I think now, yeah, as you look down the barrel of how much content Hitman 3 has, if you include Hitman 1 and 2 off the pass or whatever, right? You really get into, especially as we're talking about like if this is the end. People are always so excited for the end of a story, right? The complete story that you could end, especially as good as this stuff seems to be in terms of presentation. You could easily go back on the game you're going to have if you buy Hitman 3, right? And play all the way through and get the whole story. It shall be interesting. Thank you, Roger, for your time.
Thank you. Hope everyone has a good day.
I hope so, Roger. Too. Let us know in the comments when you get Hitman 3. Let it go. Of course, remember, this is our Hitman 3 review so far, as we've all been tinkering with it. A lot of other people are kind of funny. We'll be tinkering with it as well. None of us played it on PlayStation. You are on the PlayStation podcast. I understand many of you will probably be like, what the fuck? We wanted to talk about this game. It is going to be a big PlayStation game. So we put it here. And of course, the full disclosure that we didn't play it on PlayStation. And hopefully nothing's wrong with it cyberpunk-wise. But again, I don't think that's not the vibe I got. And I didn't have any problems on Xbox Series X. Roger didn't seem to have any on PC. Like, it just seems like codes weren't ready for PlayStation, which sucks. Hold on a second.
Are you going to play PSVR when that comes through?
Oh, yeah. You got to. You got to try that out. You know what I
hope that works well, because that's going to be a fun time.
Yeah,
that's 100%. So wild.
Yeah. All right. So that's that. That's Hitman 3. Like I said, everybody's playing it, so you'll hear, I'm sure, a lot more as we get into this game. This week's Gamescast is the whole, we're doing our league and doing the fantasy draft and critic thing for that. I'm sure next week you'll have even more than from Hitman on everybody talking about it. But this is a great introduction to what we thought at the launch here. Yeah, excited to play more of it. You know what I mean? Like, there's something there, and I just need to catch it in the right rhythm. And I know we're going to talk about that in a second. So, Barrett, bless. That is the end of Hitman talk, all right? So we can go back to the live kids.
Okay, so we can never bring up that game again.
Exactly.
Well, we shouldn't. I mean, to be fair, a preview embargo did lift for it like last week, and so we can kind of talk. We could talk about it if we wanted to. We just can't
give. Say the word Hitman.
Oh no!
I'm kicking you out of this call.
Don't do
but
that,
like,
Bless.
I don't know if you've seen PlayStation picks for this week, but it's gonna come up.
That's gonna be tough, buddy. I'm sorry.
Man, you painted yourself in a corner on that one, Bless. You know.
Oh no! Really what have I done?
We'll have to dock your pay too.
Again?
All right. So then I'm gonna start the stream again in 3, 2.
And that's why I love God of War Ragnarok.
Yeah,
it was just a great preview.
I can't believe they somehow made a God of War that was better than God of War.
And they went after all those NPCs.
I can't believe what Kratos did to all the NPCs.
Welcome back, live YouTube chat. Thank you for hanging in there as we went through that embargoed thing that I saw just about everybody guessing comments. But what am I going to say? I'm not going to do anything about it. Before we transition out of topic of the show, TOTS. Well, I need to tell you, we need your help for next week. If you were watching last week's PS I Love You XOXO, we had this idea of the PS I Love You XOXO Resurrection Bracket, where we would put all the dormant franchises in PlayStation history into one giant bracket, and then we would all sit here like we did. We did the best exclusive. Is that what we did it for last time?
The best PS4.
Best PS4. exclusive.
So same idea, all the games in a giant bracket, and then we will go through, me and Blessing, and do it. But of course, we want to make that big, and we want to have a great bracketology for it. So you can go to kindoffunny.com/bracket right now. It will take you to Jeremy, aka SD Infected's tweet, who of course put together the framework for the original PS4 bracket, and says, "I used the same format from last time. The rankings are based on the average Metacritic user score for any games in the franchise. It's definitely not scientific, since some of the older games don't have as many or any user reviews." Jeremy, as always, me and Blessing shouted something into the ether, then kind of forgot about it, and it would have been me and him sitting here going, I guess put Resistance on there and put this on. Like, went above and beyond making this thing. It's fantastic. It will definitely do it. It is another 64 seed tournament. There's a bunch of buys in there, so I think we have just about every game you would want to have in it. Andy's working as usual on a no offense, prettier graphic for it that'll be branded and stuff like he did for the other one. So we'll have that at some point. But if you wanted to get started early, ladies and gentlemen, watching PS I Love You XOXO, you can go to kindoffunny.com/bracket right now. The idea is it will be just like it was last time. You get this week to look at it. You get to make your own bracketology. You get to pick your own things. But most importantly, you'll need to be in the live chat next week. That is Monday, the 25th, as we record at noon Pacific time, because we will need you to be the tiebreaker vote between Blessing and myself. We will once again be putting polls into the YouTube chat so you can make sure your voice is heard and push things the way they need to get pushed.
I'm putting my money on G Police winning it all.
G Police, an underranked baby. They don't talk about it. Yeah, that's interesting. I like this. In the triangle bracket, the number 1 seed is Legend of Dragoon. In the square bracket, number 1 seed's Wipeout. Circle, number 1 seed is Tearaway. Cross, number 1 seed is King's Field. It's going to be interesting to see which one of these.
King's Field. King's Field. I'm going to look that up.
It's a beautiful bracket when you look through it. We're incredibly blessed.
This game was on PS2.
Audience we have that Jeremy would sit there and make this and do this stuff, but you look through some of these and it's going to be interesting to see, because I'm seeing square bracket Heavenly Sword sitting at a number 3 seed.
Holy shit, King's Field is a From Software game. I gotta look up gameplay of that.
I didn't know it.
Yeah, no, that's fascinating.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff.
Where does Oni stand? Is Oni on this list?
Well, we said, is Oni, do you consider that was that a PlayStation 2 exclusive? Did that never go anywhere else? Did the Oni series live and die only at PS2?
It was on PC also.
See, there you go. I think that disqualifies them from.
Damn, I would have went hard for Oni. I would have really
Jeremy, of course, SD Infected made the bracket. You can yell at him when you go to kindoffunny.com/bracket. It'll go there. Feel free to respond to that tweet with omissions or overlooks. Jeremy, you have my permission to edit the graphic as you see fit in the bracket as we get closer to it. Just put it in there. Because again, remember, on the podcast, we like to argue. We like to yell at each other about video games. But in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter. This is entertainment. We're here to have fun together. So, Jeremy, thank you once again for going above and beyond, like all the Kind of Funny best friends do out there. Right, Barrett?
Yes.
Thank you, Barrett. As you know, you can go to patreon.com/kindoffunnygames to watch the show live as we record it, like you need to do next Monday, the 25th, noon Pacific time, so you can be in there breaking the votes. But also on patreon.com/kindoffunnygames, you can get the show without ads. Speaking of ads, Greg Way, let's hear from our sponsors. This episode of PS I Love You XOXO is brought to you by Purple. Throw some bedding on a bunch of different mattresses and sure, they all look alike. The same goes for pillows, but peel away the layers, look at what's inside, and you'll see they aren't all created equal. And that's what makes every Purple pillow and mattress unlike anything you've ever slept on. The Purple Grid sets the Purple mattress apart from every other mattress. It's a patented comfort technology that instantly adapts to your body's natural shape and sleep style. With over 1,800 open air channels designed to neutralize body heat, Purple provides a cooling effect other mattresses can't replicate. And this cutting-edge technology doesn't stop with the mattress. Every Purple pillow is engineered with the Grid for total head and neck support and absolute airflow, so you're always cool. Or you're always on the cool side of the pillow. Purple's proprietary technology has been innovating comfort for over 15 years, and Joey Noel, from the one and only Kind of Funny, can tell you she loves it. Today, in general, we were asked, wait, who's sleeping on the Purple mattress? And Joey's like, I was. And she says, it keeps her cold? Well, I can pull up a reply right here, what she said. She was like, it's surprisingly easy to set up and super squishy and cozy. Don't you want to be on a cozy bed like Joey Noel? You can try every Purple product risk-free with free shipping and returns, and Purple has financing available for as low as 0% APR for qualified customers. Experience the Purple grid and you'll sleep like never before. Go to purple.com/kindafunny10 and use the promo code kindafunny10 for a limited time. You'll get 10% off any order of $200 or more. That's purple.com/kindafunny10, promo code kindafunny10 for 10% off any order of $200 or more. Terms apply. All right, Blessing, it's time for PlayStation updates. And of course, people who are watching live and then the people on Patreon, there's no ad there, but for everybody else, there was ads. You kill time with Barrett. I want to top off my coffee. That's what I need to do. All right. Now I could have done this during the ad but I didn't want to do
So
that.
we're going to keep this into the show for the YouTube.
Keep it in the show. Okay. People love it. Who loves watching sausage get made? Everybody. That's who.
Blessing.
Barrett, I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Had a rough weekend. Little Princess Lulu was sick. She has pancreatitis, which isn't like a crazy. It isn't a crazy thing. It's just like we caught it early, and we just have to treat it, and make sure she's taking her medicine. But it upset her stomach over the weekend, and that's why she wasn't really like eating or drinking anything, because she didn't like want to keep throwing up, because she like was throwing up a bunch the other day. So she was like, I'm refusing to eat. So we had to take her back to the vet yesterday, and then to like have like fluids be put into her like all day.
Oh no! And then that sucks.
Well, it was just like making sure she got well enough to actually just eat. Like we just needed her to eat again. So she went to the vet today. She got back in the middle of the topic of the show. And she has the cone off. They took the catheter out. And she should be good to go. It's just like a matter of her trying to getting her to trust us to feed her, because we're giving her pills, and because we're giving her pills to treat her pancreatitis, she doesn't trust us to give her food.
Yeah.
The only one who's been allowed to feed her today is Andy. He gave her some chicken, and he was the only one where she was like,
"Oh, yes, that's hilarious.
I trust you, Andy. I don't trust
do
these
you
other fuckers."
Do you sneak her pills in the food? Like, how do you give her pills?
No, she's too smart for that. We just have to like force feed it to her.
Oh, yeah, that's the worst.
Yep, it really is.
Well, damn, Andy to the rescue.
She's doing better. She's out of the cone. She doesn't have the catheter in. She's walking around. She's excitable. She's she's awake and stuff. Or she's just been kind of chilled out the last couple of days. So yeah, it was a stressful weekend, but I took my mind off of it. I took my mind off of it playing some Jedi Force Unleashed or Star Wars Force Unleashed yesterday.
For PS3 and 360, like not Fallen Order.
Yeah.
Okay.
Star Killer.
Star Killer.
Star Killer.
And yeah, the secret Vader apprentice. I've been playing that, and then of course on my streams in like a week, I think I'm gonna finally start my very first playthrough of Persona 4 Golden. People will Greg from Kind of Funny.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, Greg Miller from kindoffunny.com. I'm sorry, your streams, where would those be?
Twitch.tv/sadboybarrett. I stream every Sundays and Wednesdays. Sundays in the morning and Wednesdays in the evening. So yeah, I'm playing through Force Unleashed right now just because I'm doing my whole like Star Wars rewatch, and I thought it'd be fun to just like take time to play something that's not in the canon anymore. And then gonna start Persona 4 Golden for the very first time. I'm gonna make
a prediction.
Here comes the prediction, everybody. Blessing. He's
I think you will like Persona 4 Golden. I do not think you will like it as much as Persona 5.
Yeah, someone in the chat, like I was talking to chat yesterday, and they're trying to predict if I would like Persona 4 Golden more than Persona 5, and I was like,
I don't think you will.
I doubt it. Persona 5 Royal is my favorite game of all time. So,
and that's the thing. Like Persona 4 Golden is I like more than Persona 5, but I also think it's the Mario Kart theory where the first one you play is your favorite one, and like Persona, I feel like Persona has that to it.
I don't believe that theory. Blessing. You want to know why?
My favorite Mario Kart is Mario Kart 64.
You're wrong.
Well, I played Persona 3 before I played Persona 4, and I still like Persona 4 more. So.
And also, like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is the best Mario Kart. Come on.
But I like Mario Kart 64 better though.
But can we all agree that Fran fucked up the Double Dash review?
Yeah.
What do you give it?
7.9 for Double Dash.
7.9?
I would give it an 8.
I mean, like even that's more respectable. Even that's more respectable.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
That's like
than the
0.1 of a
he
point.
was just like, he just wanted to be a petty bitch, and he's like, it doesn't even deserve.
It's true.
The point.
That's 100% true.
But it's not as egregious as IGN giving GTA San Andreas a 9.9 out of 10. I'll never forgive them for that. We've had this conversation before on a podcast, and like I find that egregious. That's a 10 out of 10 game.
Blessing, why don't you hit me with them PlayStation updates?
PlayStation updates. Number one, Greg, what in the world is going on with Sony San Diego? Actually, no, I phrased that incorrectly. What in the world is Sony San Diego working on? Is the way I was supposed to say that.
Okay.
It's supposed to be like a Carmen San Diego reference.
Where in the world is Carmen San Diego?
Barrett got it. I'm going to pull from an article on IGN from Matt Purse, though, who writes, PlayStation's new San Diego studio is working to expand upon existing franchises, according to the LinkedIn profile of the studio's former head. Michael Mombar worked at PlayStation as studio head until November 2020. In the segment of his profile detailing his work with the new San Diego team, Mombar writes, quote, his latest achievement is having built a brand new all-star AAA action adventure development team for PlayStation. Based in San Diego and utilizing proprietary engine technology, this team was assembled to expand upon existing franchises and craft all new stories for the next generation of gamers, end quote. As to what those existing franchises could be, there have been rumors for a while that PlayStation has been working on a partnership with Naughty Dog to continue the Uncharted series. Gregory.
Yes.
Do you buy it?
Yes. I mean, this is one that's been kicked around forever, right? I did a quick Google, right? And I hit this Games Radar article from October 30th, 2020. Sony San Diego hires ex-Uncharted developer for a new project, which then links back to this article from Games Radar, which was March 3rd, 2020. PS5 could kickstart Sony's first-party studios are able to support it. And then it talks about it here. This has been an open rumor for a while. And I feel like in the run up to PlayStation 5 and everything else happening, it's something that's in Last of Us Part 2 and you name it, on how batshit crazy PlayStation news has been for a while. This is something that gets lost a lot because there's not anything to it other than this conversation that it's happening. But I think it is happening. I do think they're building a team down there, and I do think that it would make sense to say, hey, new Sony San Diego team, why not take a storied PlayStation franchise? Like, I mean, Uncharted is what the money's on. Uncharted is what the rumor's been forever, but it could be anything, right? And go take a crack at that and make something with it. I think it's an uphill battle. I think it's really difficult, but I think, especially as we talk about Uncharted, it makes sense if they don't do Nate. If you don't do Nate and you do your own thing in that universe, then you're able to get away with it in a way that Sony Bend wasn't with Uncharted Golden Abyss, where it was a direct comparison to the adventures of Nathan Drake.
Give me the daughter of Nathan Drake.
What?
I was gonna say spoilers for
that game
Uncharted
came out
4.
fucking what? 5 years ago at this point.
You're about to get 300 tweets where people are like, I was about to play it.
I was just about to play Uncharted 4.
You know
I just
installed it on my
PlayStation
PlayStation 5.
To all those people who didn't play it when it came out, I'm gonna block them. Fuck y'all.
Wow. Sad Boy Bear doesn't take no shit.
But my question to you, Greg, do you like if they did a Nathan Drake daughter game? Do you think they still have that uphill battle and they call it Uncharted?
Yes, 100%. And I don't think that's. I don't think you do that. I mean, I loved the end of Uncharted 4. I love the Uncharted series, and I think that when we got there and we got the ending we got with that, right? Spoilers for Uncharted 4. I know we keep saying it, but I was like, when we get old Nate and old Elena happy on the beach, photos of their amazing life around them, their seemingly awesome teenage daughter, right, who is just learning about her father's, missions and traverse, all the things they did. I think that's so great, and I would be like, that's the end. I think that's the end of Nathan's story, and I think she's so tied with that if someone wanted to tackle that, if you wanted to have it be about their daughter, I'd want to see Naughty Dog do it. And I think that's something they would do years from now before then. I think it's more interesting to see them take on either a brand new character or a side character that then gets fleshed out, right? I mean, I think it'd be cool to see a Sully game that is young Sully, right? That is somewhere before or right after he meets Nate. And Nate's not really involved in that story, but that's what's happening. I think that universe and that universe is so interesting, period, let alone all the treasure hunters they've already introduced and done things with. I think it'd be cooler to see one of them take it with. You tweeted today, right? Trying to do Lost Legacy again, but having this play as Nadine rather than Chloe. Like, what do you think? Where would you want it to go?
I mean, I think that'd be an awesome idea. I think in terms of the Uncharted 5 quote unquote idea of them taking Cassie, Nate's daughter and like turning that into a game. I think if they started off with that, it'd be an uphill battle. I think if they did that a few games down the line after they've proven themselves as being able to make a great Uncharted game, I think that'd be easier.
Now,
and I think the way you do
hear me out, Bless. This is like kind of tying into like your theory here. So we got Lost Legacy, right? It was a Chloe story with Nadine kind of being the buddy, and then we do the role reversal. We get a Nadine story,
story with Chloe being the buddy.
Yeah, and then the third one we get a Cassie story where Chloe and Nadine are kind of Cassie's Sully.
Oh, you're speaking my language. I would like that. That would I think that's definitely a cool idea. And like I think starting off with something like Uncharted Lost Legacy 2, which holds like less, I guess, sentimental value with fans, right? Like I think you could get away with that and people would be accepting and down for it. Because it means more Uncharted, and it also means that Naughty Dog gets to do whatever they want to do over there, whether it be a new Last of Us or an original IP, which I think would be awesome. I think either do that. I would also enjoy a Sully story. I could enjoy a Nathan Drake prequel story, though I don't really want more Nathan Drake. I feel like I'm done with Nathan Drake's story. I feel like the closure that I got with Uncharted 4 was good enough, and I'd like to see what new ideas or new characters you can pull from that franchise. And so even if it is a brand new character from the ground up that is also a treasure hunter, maybe they have a past with Nathan Drake, or there's some kind of connecting factor, whatever it may be. I think doing that in that world could be awesome, especially because I want to see Uncharted continue in some way.
So let's expand on this a few different directions. And I'm going to ask the question, but I'm going to answer it and give you my pitch right away. And then I want your take. And the question is, do you want Sony San Diego to do more Uncharted? And my answer personally would be no. I think that Uncharted, regardless if it's not Nate, if it's not whoever, regardless of who you put into the swashbuckling, climbing around, shooting at pirates' boots, it's going to have such a shadow over it. Like, you know what I mean? The boots are so hard to fill of Naughty Dog that I just think that is an uphill battle inevitably. Whereas, like we talk about it, Golden Abyss was a good game. Golden Abyss was a good Uncharted, but the problem was it was on Vita and it had a bunch of, hokey, like fucking rub the screen, get a light, shit like that. I'll never forget being on a goddamn plane, in pitch black plane, turning on a light and holding my Vita up to get the light on it. Anyways, I digress. It had a bunch of stuff on there that I think doesn't make it fondly remembered as it should be. But it also was, oh, this isn't Naughty Dog. And that was something you couldn't get over and you couldn't get past. I think if everything we're saying right now and talking about right now and the love everybody has for Uncharted, I would let that rest maybe till the end of the PlayStation 5 or a launch of the PlayStation 6. Because can you imagine how fucking cool it would be if you had a trailer that was this woman, she's out there, she's climbing, she's shooting pirates, she grabs the thing, she slides down a thing, jumps into whatever, there's all these explosions, jumps onto the helicopter rope, climbs up, gets in there, puts on her headset and turns, and it's fucking old Nathan Drake flying the helicopter, right? And we get to hear Nolan's voice, and it's like, boom, Uncharted, the next chapter, and it is like, it's Naughty Dog, it's them continuing this, not continuing his story, but passing the baton to her. I think you lose that pop if we've gotten 2 or 3 other Uncharteds that are like cool, but not Naughty Dog Uncharted.
Do you think Naughty Dog continues Uncharted though? Like, do you think they ever go back to working on that game?
I mean, who's to say? Like, I mean, I don't know. That's such a hard question. And like, how things change. Like right now, it'd be so easy to say, of course not, no way. But I also think that like Last of Us Part 2 wasn't the normal. It wasn't. Last of Us Part 2. It sounds stupid to say, but it wasn't a slam dunk. You knew that was going to happen. Like you totally saw what Naughty Dog and Neil and Bruce were pushing for, and where they finished that. You finished Last of Us Part 1 in. Did you need another Last of Us? We all at the time said no. A lot of people did want it. Don't get me wrong, but you immediately are in that shadow and trying to push it. And Last of Us Part 2 is such a different thing that, yeah, I'm sure they have a million different ideas they want to go to and a million different places. But I do think that you could double back, and especially you think about how much they're going to learn with tech, how much they're going to learn with cinematography, how much they're going to learn in terms of like what I'm talking about is like, if we're thinking 7, 8, 10 years from now, I'm talking about that, you climb in that helicopter and you turn and fucking Nolan North says, man, it was a close one, you know what I mean? Or Kitty got wet or something totally stupid. And the fucking place pops. And I imagine, PSX and the place comes unfucking glued. Like, think about the staff of Naughty Dog. Like, we'd think about it being the same people right now, right? You think about Evan, you think about Neil, you think about Kurt. Like, there's a great chance a lot of them wouldn't be there. And you would have people that came there because they fell in love with Uncharted. They fell in love with Last of Us. And now they've done stuff and they've made a bunch of games. But when the idea of what if we did this 8,000 frames a second or whatever it's going to look like in 10 years, right? We did all this crazy shit and we came back and did that and told her story and what she did. And like, we're out to, you know, save Elena again, or it's just we're out, you know, doing treasure stuff in your dad's thing or whatever. There's so much cool shit there that I think if you hadn't touched the franchise, you could do. And so that, you know, when you talk about, when we read this, right, and it is like, his latest achievement is having built a brand new all-star AAA action adventure development team for PlayStation, expand on existing franchises to craft all new stories. Like, I think, you know, I hate to be a broken record and just play to myself, but like, I would love anyone to tackle Infamous. And I think Infamous, as much as I love Infamous, as much as a lot of us listening and watching love Infamous isn't this sacred property in the way Uncharted is. Uncharted means something different than Infamous does. And I think if you were to say Sony San Diego drops the trailer and it is a character who's, you know, she's spinning around and she's a tornado or whatever the fuck's going on, right? She's dealing with these powers, and then you splashed up Infamous and then whatever your subtitle is on it. I think the messaging is so easy on that of like, we're a new studio. This is a new take on Infamous. You know, we're taking what people loved about Sucker Punch and having cool powers, and we are going to have, you know, this varied morality to it where it isn't going to be black and white. It isn't going to be yes or no. It is going to be choices that are gray and you don't exactly know how that nets out. And like, we're giving you that superhero fantasy from Sony. Even that, as I say all that, I'm sure if I'm Herman Hulst, right, and I'm looking at Worldwide Studios, I'm like, well, Insomniac's got Spider-Man. Why do we need this? Like, that's the other thing to all this is how you shake it out.
Yeah, no, I think that's the big question, right? When you look at the description of the studio being a brand new all-star AAA action adventure development team, and like the description also talks about how they want to expand upon existing franchises and craft all new stories. I think that leaves open a ton of possibilities when you look at existing PlayStation franchises. And so, like, we talked last week about Killzone, and I don't think I wouldn't do it, but like, I think that's somewhat on the table as like a possibility, but I don't think that's likely. But then I also look at something like Horizon, which is something that is currently active, but there have been reports over the last year or so as far as what the ideas for Horizon were in development. The next Horizon game, they're throwing around ideas like, what if it was co-op? What if it was this like 2 to 3 player experience where you're going through and you're doing shit together? You know, in a world where that gets scrapped, I could see that instead of being scrapped, getting passed on to this different studio to be able to work on their own Horizon game that takes place in the same universe in order to expand that in a cool way.
Are in the same way too small here? Because y'all are bringing PlayStation franchise. Is there a possibility that this goes beyond just PlayStation franchises?
Oh, yeah, are you about to bring in Lucasfilm Games into this?
Lucasfilm Games, I'm just thinking like outside of just the PlayStation wheelhouse. That's definitely a possibility. I don't know, like, if that is the case, like, I don't know what it would be, but I'm just trying to
Dark Cloud.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get us get our thinking boxes ticking, you know?
Get our thinking boxes ticking.
You know what I'm saying?
I know exactly. You're right. No, it's a great. You're right. We are expand upon existing franchises. We're hung up on PlayStation because, again, that had been the rumor forever, right? The rumor had been that Sony San Diego is working on a different PlayStation franchise, taking something over and moving with it that way. That does make sense. In the same breath, though, to bury it in the middle of this episode as I did last week, right? Like, give me a fucking Siphon Filter. Sony Bend probably wants to stick with Days Gone. They want to work with that engine. They want to see, you know, what happens with Deacon St. John. Awesome. And obviously Days Gone has such a huge fan base. Give this new team Siphon Filter and give us that Metal Gear game that doesn't exist anymore, that is popular, that people would want to see.
Yeah. Like, the possibilities are endless, though. I do think, to go back to Uncharted for a second, if you were to ask me, what would I do with Uncharted if I was PlayStation?
Sure.
I wouldn't know, honestly, because to what you're saying, right, of like, not like let that IP sit and let Naughty Dog come back to it like later on and it be this big pop. I think that is like a dream scenario that I think one, like, isn't necessarily certain, but then also, like, for me, for what I want from Naughty Dog, I want Naughty Dog to continue like developing new ideas and doing new shit, because I think for the how many, like 5-6 Uncharted games that we've gotten from them, like, I'm cool. Like, I think I've gotten as much Uncharted as I want from Naughty Dog. For a studio as talented as them, I want to see them continue to work on stuff that is brand new, that is dynamic, that is different, because I feel like the Uncharted era of Naughty Dog we've gotten so much from it. And like that's not only just talking about like the like Uncharted as like a franchise or as like a series. I'm talking about like in terms of like that type of action game from them. We've gotten so much of that like I don't know, from them I'd want to see them continue to do something new. That said, I do like the idea of, I mean, 10 years from now, that staff is going to look different, and you're going to have people working there that are like, oh yeah, I'm a fan of Uncharted, that's why I wanted to work at Naughty Dog, so I'd love to work on Uncharted. I think that makes a lot of sense also. But also on the other hand, in terms of Sony San Diego, I like the idea of them keeping that franchise alive, but at the same time, I do think it never, I don't want to say never because who knows, maybe the studio is fantastic, but like off the bat, it's hard for me to believe that they will make an Uncharted game that will stand up to what we've gotten from Uncharted already. Unless it is like a lost legacy or it is some kind of side story that has me not comparing it in the same way. But at the end of the day, I feel like at the end of the day, fans will still be like, well, this isn't Uncharted 4. Like this isn't Nathan Drake and Sully. Like this isn't what we've gotten from the franchise already. And so with that, I don't know. I don't have like an immediate thing that I do with the Uncharted franchise that I know off the top.
I agree. That's why I would let it sit and let it be there in the Naughty Dog ammunition pile for when they want it, when they feel inspired to go back to it. Because I'm with you of like, I don't need one immediately. I don't need one even relatively close. And I don't think I need one from another studio. I'll probably see it and be excited, and it's totally my kind of game. I'll want to play it. But that's not what I'm jonesing for right now, right? And when I start thinking fondly on this, I'm like, man, maybe I should go back and platinum Lost Legacy. You know what I mean? Like, there's already things for me to go do in that world, in those universes, and see again that I haven't seen in years. I didn't replay the Nathan Drake collection. I don't want to go into crushing immediately and get my trophies. Like, there's things to do if I want more Uncharted that way, and I'd rather it sit and come back and look dramatically different rather than be, there's another studio working on that. But Barrett's interesting. That's an interesting one of existing franchises. Are we penning them in and thinking just in a PlayStation franchise way? And that's also what I think about with Naughty Dog too. Is I don't think it would happen. I don't know if that's what they'd ever want to do. But the idea of Naughty Dog tackling an IP that is already established, telling a story in a fill in the blank universe, whether it is Marvel, Star Wars, whatever the hell you want it to be, like I feel like that would be. They would bristle at that as they want to tell their own stories, and they don't want to have overhead, I'm sure, and they don't want to be turned down and have, well, that character would never say that. That character would never do that.
I feel like I would bristle at that a bit if we got that announcement.
Give me a Naughty Dog Back to the Future game. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay. And I'm personally like, if I saw that at the E3, I'd be like, all right, I guess. Like
and that's the thing too. Yeah.
I think they could do something really cool with that.
Like I think they'd make a great one. Like I think literally, if you gave Indiana Jones to Naughty Dog, it'd be the best Indiana Jones game anybody could make. And like that'd be fantastic. But like I just want something new. Like Naughty Dog, I feel like it's so good at telling their own stories that I wouldn't want them to be hampered down by any sort of IP or like trying to tell like somebody else's story or trying to adapt anything. Like I want them to tell something from the ground up because I feel like that's what they've excelled at so well for two generations.
That'd be the push and pull of it though, right? Is that I feel like if I had a giant property, a giant IP that I wanted Naughty Dog to work on, I would want them to work on it because I've seen them succeed with Last of Us and Uncharted and what they do and how they are. And I feel like for PlayStation and, Evan and Neil to sign a contract that was working on a known IP, it would have to be, we have basically carte blanche, right? Like we want to be able to do all this stuff. And I know it is bad. We're bringing up so many different use case scenarios of things that are bad when it happens, right? You can look at Insomniac with Spider-Man, and spoilers for Spider-Man PS4, right? This is your chance to jump out if you haven't finished Spider-Man PS4. This is your chance. Like they kill Aunt May, like, you know what I mean? Like they do things in there of like, a Spider-Man, I'm sure Marvel wouldn't have been like, you want Peter to swing through the city drinking whiskey and cursing? We gave you carte blanche. Go ahead and do it. But in the same breath, Insomniac wouldn't do that because that's not Spider-Man, right? Like if you're teaming up the right developer and the right property, you shouldn't have this huge difference of opinion on where it should be going. And like, granted, there's dozens, if not hundreds of, hey, look at this failed project, whether it be in movies, games, TV, that didn't work out because of something like that. But if you had the right IP, and you had the right people helming it to come to Naughty Dog and be like, we want you to do this, and we're on the same page of who everybody is, I think you could do it. But I'm with you. You make such a great point, right? Of like, I'm a huge Back to the Future fan. I'm a huge Naughty Dog fan. So yeah, I'd be all about that. But how many people would see that game get asked, be like,
oh no, like that? I don't know. That's definitely not a very marketable idea. I just think
but I think it's a great example for what we're talking about, right? Yeah, they do something awesome with it.
And like I feel like there's so many franchises that like Naughty Dog could work on that. Like you say Back to the Future, I'm not a big Back to the Future person, like first off, and so if I see that, I'm like, man, I wish they'd do something else, right? Even like if they did like a Star Wars, right? Like so many people are fans of Star Wars, but so many people aren't. Whereas like if you do something original, that I think regardless, that's kind of exciting to everybody from Naughty Dog. At a certain point though, somebody's going to interview Neil Druckmann and whoever else from Naughty Dog. And I want them, if you're interviewing them, I want somebody to ask the question, like, what would it be if you could work on somebody else's IP? Like, what would be the IP that you'd want to work on? Because I think the way that end up happening of them working on another IP is if they'd want to. Like, if it is a thing where they're like, we've always dreamed of working on X franchise, I think that's where the idea would stem from. It stem from them and not from Sony being approached. And I'd want to know what that'd be, because I don't know. Like I want to know what stories that they could tell that would be somebody else's IP, but I would also want them to stem from them originally and not from somebody else. If that makes sense.
Hold on, I'm drafting a tweet.
Okay.
We're saying hypothetical question, at Neil Druckmann. What established IP would you want to make a game for? Is that fair, or how? Crap? Do we need to massage it more? Should I say it
again?
What established IP would you want to make a game for?
No, I think that's good.
Do I need to say like it can be a game, can be a movie, can be anything?
No, I think established IP is good enough.
Just leave it open. Okay.
Yeah, leave it open.
Hypothetical question, Neil Druckmann: what established IP would you want to make a game for? Okay. I'm going to put here in parentheses PSI. Nah, I'm not going to say anything about the show we're recording. All right, then tweeted. It's tweeted. There we go. Now we sit back and wait. We'll get an answer.
What are the chances? What are the chances we get an answer?
There's not like a fucking alarm going off at Sony PR, right?
Oh, 100%. He's probably looking at the tweet and being like, I definitely cannot answer that.
I hope he just responds with the fucking Furious Road, right? That's bait. That's bait. I'm not answering that. Blessing, what else is happening?
And then we make the headline, Neil Druckmann wants to work on a Mad Max game.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, exactly. Number 2, will Indiana Jones come to PlayStation? This, of course, comes from last week. There was news that Bethesda is working on a new Indiana Jones game with an original story from Machine Games. Very exciting stuff. That's in collaboration with Lucasfilm Games, being produced by Todd Howard. As we know, Bethesda acquired by Microsoft, meaning Machine Games is a Microsoft studio. Do we see Indiana Jones on PlayStation?
You can.
It's such a toss-up.
You can see a different conversation with different hosts over on XCast from a couple.
We don't acknowledge that show. We don't acknowledge that show.
It was the headline. It was the thumbnail.
We don't acknowledge that show. We don't acknowledge that show.
It's our headline and thumbnail now.
Paris Lily, Gary Whitta. Great.
Never heard of them. They're all,
I don't know who those people are.
All deadbeats. You know what I mean?
I like Paris Lily.
I love Paris. I love Mike. I love Gary. I love their.
All right, let's not take it too far. All right, I like.
You know what? I love
Lily.
Phil Spencer. He's always been nice to me. I think Bill Gates seems like an okay guy. I don't know, man. I could see it going either way, and I feel like no matter which way you go, there's a but right away, where it's like, well, yeah, of course, Microsoft is going to own Bethesda. They want to exclusives, so of course they'd want it to be exclusive, but. You're partnering up with Lucasfilm Games, a division of Disney, who of course wants to make as much money off their property. But we also saw Disney, do the Spider-Man exclusivity deal with Sony. But Sony already had this weird thing with Spider-Man for exclusivity. It's like my knee-jerk reaction is this will be on PlayStation. That this IP is broad enough that they want it on everything. It's popular enough that they want it on everything, so you can buy it, and it's. Stick with me, small enough, cold enough as an IP that they want as much money as possible. This isn't Spider-Man. This isn't coming off the back of the MCU. This isn't going to a console that's already run away to be the most dominant console in the generation. This is Indiana Jones, which I was shocked to learn that Blessing hasn't seen Indiana Jones. I'm like, sure, he's young. Tim hasn't seen Indiana Jones, and that was like, oh man, that's a weird. I hadn't ever heard of that like gap. That's where we're at right now in terms of movies you grew up on that were just always on TBS that you watched or knew, or your parents had to, for me, a VHS of, right? That it was like, oh, this is what we put on. I think Indiana Jones is obviously a great IP. The movies are fantastic. I think I'm going to push Tim to do in review of them eventually. I'm going to make him do it, guaranteed. I'm sure Nick and I will crack the whip literally on him to make sure it happens. But it's this thing that Indiana Jones
literally?
Huh?
Did you say you're going to crack the whip literally?
Well, remember, it's like a pun because of like Indiana Jones uses a whip.
Yeah. Well, I understood that. It's just the use of literally there has me like a bit worried for Tim's back,
First off, what me, Tim, and Nick do in the privacy of our own homes is not up for anybody's discussion. And
Fair.
If you want, you're welcome to go to Merriam-Webster's dictionary, where literally doesn't mean literally anymore. So it doesn't matter. Do I mean literally or do I mean figuratively? We'll see. Or did I mean just no pun intended? And I said literally. Well, it's up to you to decide. But Indiana Jones, I think, isn't the strongest IP in a way that, oh yeah, put it at the audience will follow it. The Indiana Jones fan base will go wherever it is. I do think it is. Put it everywhere and make money. That's my interpretation. Bless.
I'm with you that there are a lot of buts in here, and there's there's a lot of reasons for things to go both ways. Because like me and Tim were having a good conversation about this earlier, and we are talking about how, yeah, for this, like, money definitely talks when it comes to what platforms you want to get this on and how many people you want to let touch this thing. But money also speaks multiple languages. And so, like, what does the exclusivity deal look like if Microsoft were to approach Lucasfilm Games and they were to have that conversation, and we're like, all right, no, we want to pay you X amount of money so we can have this on our platform, and we will still release it on PC. Like, this amount of people will still have access to it. It being on Game Pass means that this many people will play it. It being on xCloud means that this many people are able to play it across multiple years. I think that then paints a broader picture of, all right, how open to this could Lucasfilm Games actually be? If I was in Microsoft's shoes, I would want to lock this down as an exclusive. One, because Indiana Jones Machine Games, like, that is a beautiful match made in heaven in terms of a studio that can make a blockbuster title with fantastic cutscenes and tell a story and do all this stuff. But also, like, for this game as a competitor to Uncharted, we had a whole conversation about Uncharted and its meaning and all this stuff, right? Like, Uncharted is inspired by Indiana Jones, and for Xbox to be like, hey, we literally have Indiana Jones on our platform and you can play it exclusively here. I think that would be a power move that if I was Microsoft, I would want to make. And so I would think that they're trying to make those conversations happen as much as possible, and they're trying to lock that down. And so my prediction is no, but I'm also like, I'm half and half on it, where I could see it go either way.
Here's another but though. Like, you have to imagine, I forget if you guys brought this up already, of like, this deal probably happened before the Microsoft ZeniMax thing, and the Microsoft ZeniMax thing isn't finalized. So, like, do they even get a say in this? Depending on the deal that was made. So it's again,
also to the point. And it's also to the point that you bring up, Bless, of just, and I guess it's a combination of your point and my point. It's this idea that if we're looking to get lapsed Indiana Jones fans into this. And, I think of, like, my friend who just bought a Switch this year, got it for his birthday. And, Poe, who only sees certain games and picks them up or whatever. If you're talking about, like, Indiana Jones being an IP that's going to hit so hard with the people who grew up with it to bring them in and play a different game. Imagine the Indiana Jones trailer running during Monday Night Football, then ending with the Xbox Game Pass logo and say, start playing it now for $15, right? On any device. Play it on your phone. Like, all these different things, like, that, as we get into what the Bethesda deal with Microsoft will actually mean, is going to be such a powerful point on games like this. You know what? I'm Phil Spencer. I'm living up to my word. I said exclusives are dumb. I'm not going to take games away from PlayStation people. But I am going to sit here and be like, you can buy it for $70, or you can play it for, I keep saying 15 because of Game Pass Ultimate right now. God knows what it'll be then and whatever. But you could also just give us $15 and play it on your TV, play it on your phone, play it on your computer. If you have an old Xbox, play it on that. That is what they want with Xbox Game Pass, is they want it to be this gateway drug to get you to play one game, but then realize how many games you have and then go, oh man, it would probably run so much better on Xbox than my phone, and do all these different things and buy it out that way.
Yeah. And I think even as Lucasfilm Games, like, with the process of giving these different IP to different studios to work on, right? Like we've gotten Ubisoft Massive working on an open world Star Wars game, which is very exciting. We have Machine Games work on an Indiana Jones. I think the idea of spreading the love as much as possible with that stuff is going to go a long way into getting different audiences invested in that IP. And so like, if you do have like a Ubisoft Star Wars game, right? Like that serves a specific audience, right? Being Star Wars fans, obviously, but then folks who are into those types of games. I would say the same thing if Indiana Jones is going to be like an Xbox exclusive game that then serves that audience in a way that gets them invested in that franchise. And then you could also talk to Sony to see like, hey, is there a fit here? Like, can we have Sony work on a Star Wars game or Sony work on whatever other IP that Lucasfilm Games wants to hand out? Like, I think spreading the love in that way could work in favor of Lucasfilm Games in a way that they would be down for that.
Give Insomniac Star Wars 1313. That's all I'll say.
Who? Give Sony San Diego Star Wars 1313. We don't know what they can do yet.
That's true. That's true.
We actually have a question about this that I was going to pull, but looks like it disappeared from the doc, and so I won't ask the question.
There it is. I thought we already went so long into like who should do what at PlayStation.
Yeah, no. Brandon H wrote in and says, "All right, let's say Sony can use any of their studios to make a Lucasfilm game. What do you want to see?" My answer to that is unconventional, but I'm going to throw it out there. Let London Studio, who've done games like SingStar, but most recently did Blood and Truth, let them work on a Star Wars game. Because I think that's a studio from Blood and Truth. They've shown off that they have talent, right? Like they can make a great blockbuster action game. Let them work on something that's going to be their big break. Like that would be my pitch for that. I think that'd be awesome.
Sony Bend Full Throttle.
Oh,
motorcycles.
Okay,
right?
Yeah,
there you go.
I mean, that motorcycles. That is a connection.
It's a weird one because I think you get into such, I don't know, like dream scenario, weird one-offs and all this other jazz, right? Where it's like, I want to see more Star Wars games and I want to see great Star Wars games. So yeah, like the idea of someone in first party Sony getting to make a Star Wars video game. And again, like I think it wouldn't happen, but Naughty Dog getting to take their, big blockbuster ideals of Uncharted and have that in a Star Wars game and have it be a single player, focused narrative adventure on that, whether it be that you're a scoundrel, whether it be that you're Han Solo, whether it be that you're Ahsoka, whether, there's so many different people you could be that I think would be awesome to get a narrative game built around them. But like even then when you say that, like, if you're sitting there as Star Wars or as Lucasfilm, you have to start thinking of like, well, you don't want everything to be samey, right? And so does Jedi Fallen Order to fill that gap? Like you wouldn't need that. And then how do you make a Naughty Dog version of it be different? And where do you go? And are we making a Mandalorian game? Are we making, what is Massive working on over there in terms of their Star Wars open world adventure? Like there's so many different fucking cool things that could happen with that kind of franchise, but then you also worry about overloading it and going all these different directions.
Greg, to wrap up PlayStation updates, number 3, Sony has pulled PS5 game releases from that CES 2021 trailer. Yeah, if you're aware, last week we got a trailer uploaded for CES 2021. I had a bunch of different dates for upcoming PlayStation games. Hitman 3 obviously is coming January 2021 because we talked about it, it's coming 2021. We know when that's coming out. Ghostwire Tokyo is coming October 2021. Horizon Forbidden West is 2021. Kingdom Bridge of Spirits says March 2021. Little Devil Insides, that's July 2021. Pragmata 2023. Project Athia January 2022. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart 2021. Returnal March 19, 2021. Solar Ash June 2021, and then Stray is coming October 2021. In their YouTube upload of that trailer, they removed the third-party release dates. I don't have anything to read into with that, but they did it. And so I don't know if that says anything to you, Greg Miller.
It's the normal thing of one hand not watching what the other's doing.
Yeah.
Not watching. Where like, CES is never a big show for video game news, but there's always these things that get put in there. And so no one's paying attention because nobody really cares about what they're going to do. And then that pops and then everybody has these news stories of these release dates. And they're like, motherfucker, God damn it. Take all that out. No, that was not meant to be there. No, that's not supposed to, what I mean? Like, these are all things we wrote down, but like these aren't supposed to be shared. These aren't actually like confirms.
Yeah, I can imagine Capcom calling them up and being like, we weren't trying to commit to like a year for that game. And so like, can you please take out that we're getting that done in 2023?
And like such a for Pragmata 2023. Like what?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
It's like that usually you don't get release dates that far. Well, I guess we are in 2021 now, and so that's not like the craziest thing. But still, as Capcom would be like, get that out of here. We're not trying to like commit to anything. So there you go.
There you go.
PlayStation picks for this week, of course. PlayStation picks where we highlight a few of the cool looking games coming to PSN. We have a big hitter for this week, Hitman 3. It's coming to PS5, PS4, Wednesday, January 20th. So
is the VR mode day one with that?
I assume so.
Okay.
Though I don't know if they talked about that. And so we shall see. My bigger question is the VR mode PlayStation exclusive? Because I've not seen them talk about it on any other platform also. They've been like kind of like secretive a little bit with the rollout of that.
I'm here. I'm on our good friends over here. Upload VR. The Hitman 3 launch trailer is here 2 days ahead of the release. Full great moments and plenty of assassinating killing. Yeah, it says with full. It's just saying that. Although Hitman 3 is of course launching on every platform you could reasonably imagine, only the PS4 version of the game will have VR support, and even then, only DualShock 4 support, no motion controllers. But don't worry, you can get it on PS5 if you have the PS4 version for free. You can try it on VR on the PS5 through the adapter.
That's concerning. Only the DualShock 4 support.
Yeah.
In the trailer, they had like the thing where like somebody tapped on one of the NPC's shoulders and then they turned around and then they punched him out.
Yeah.
I feel like it's very much like a wand thing.
You'd think so, but no.
I don't like that. I don't like that one.
No, I ain't feeling that. I ain't feeling
that. Yeah. I'm not a big fan of using the DualShock 4 in VR. Depending on the game, there are like a couple of games that make it work out, but for the most part, that's not my ideal way to do a VR game.
Not at all, no.
But we shall see how that pans out. We do have a PlayStation pick this week. Redout Space Assault is coming Friday, January 22nd. Redout Space Assault puts you in control of a super orbital recon fighter during the 2,395 colonization of Mars. Dive in the fastest, most epic, and exciting arcade space battle you can experience. Outsmart, outmaneuver, overpower, outclass your opponents in lightning fast, adrenaline-inducing single-player space combat. Greg, does this do it for you? Are you excited about Redout?
Not at all. No, I'm watching it again. It looks cool. It kind of looks like a shmup from the point of view of being like behind the jet, right? And I'd imagine that's the arcade feel they're going
very
for.
Similar to like Star Fox almost.
Yeah, no, it looks like a fun arcade experience. Like it's one that like we'll see. I might fuck around in. It doesn't strike me as something I want to dive deep into, but like it looks like it could be fun for a session or two. But yeah, if you're into like a fun space arcadey shooting experience, there you go.
Blessing,
Greg.
It's time to talk about what you've been playing. What you've been playing?
I've been playing Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. I talked about this bit last week. I've now beaten Guardian Ape. I was struggling through that a lot during our Thursday stream. But right after the stream, I took a nap, came back, defeated him, felt very good about it. And yeah, the game continues to be excellent. I continue to enjoy it.
Was that as worthwhile as people wanted? When you were getting close to Guardian Ape, everybody, of course, was tweeting you and telling you to save it for the stream.
Yeah, and I did not save it for the stream. No, I gave him a few tries before the stream, and I had those like big moments that I think people were excited for me to see. And I will say, yeah, no, I think it lived up. I think that boss fight was fantastic. I had a really good time. And I don't want to like spoil it for people who haven't gotten there, but like there is like a great, like usually From Software bosses have multiple phases to them, and I definitely really enjoyed the phase shift for Guardian Ape, and so shout out to that. That game is difficult, man. I'm like dying way more in Sekiro than I was.
But are you
Bloodborne.
Enjoying it?
I am enjoying it. I'm having a great time with it.
Okay.
And so
Big Dave wrote in about your Sekiro playthrough to, of course, patreon.com/kindoffunnygames, just like you can. It says, "Hi, Greg and Bless. I realized something about one of my favorite games from last generation. Sekiro is a hardcore Zelda. You got no stats, equipment, or character builds. There are no magic buffs, and you can't grind to become stronger. You only got your main sword, a swappable side weapon, and fighting skills. Am I too weak for this boss? Do I use the wrong build? These are questions you don't have to ask yourself when you fight a big enemy in Sekiro. You always know that you are as strong as you need to be. You just need to get to know your enemy. This and the pinpoint fighting game-like combat made me truly love this game. Blessing, now that you've played Bloodborne, a Souls RPG, and Sekiro as a Souls adventure, please tell me, what do you prefer? Number one, do you agree this is a hardcore Zelda, Blessing? And number two, what do you prefer?
I disagree. I feel like Sekiro, like it doesn't have all the fucking around with stats that you do have in Bloodborne and other Souls games. And so like they're spot on with that. Big Dave is spot on with that. But there are ways to enhance your power and vitality and all that. So I guess I guess now that I mentioned it, I guess you do that in Zelda also, and so that lines up. The thing I'd say is different though is that like Zelda has like puzzle solving and dungeon crawling and all this stuff that just isn't present in Sekiro. Sekiro very much falls in line with the Souls games. Like you are following a linear-ish path. There are different paths to different locations. It is like this big, huge world that you're kind of exploring with that. That is very much a Souls-ish game structure in a way that doesn't really fall in line with Zelda. But I'm definitely with you there in terms of when you approach a boss or an enemy, it does feel like you are your own obstacle rather than it being a thing of, okay, am I leveled up the right way? Am I leveled up enough? Do I have the right weapon? Am I doing enough fire damage on this enemy? Like all that stuff is pretty much eliminated. There are certain things here or there that are things that are good to know for fighting specific enemies. And so like when I was fighting Guardian Ape, I didn't have firecrackers, and firecrackers are an item that really does make a difference when you're fighting that type of enemy. I wasn't aware, and so for my first times fighting Guardian Ape, I was getting my ass beat. But then somebody put me on to firecrackers. I think it was Imran who put me on to firecrackers, and then that changed my whole experience with it. Stuff like that does kind of change your experience, and kind of harkens a little bit back to how you would play something like Bloodborne. But yeah, no, it is kind of mano a mano, which I think is fun, but then also kind of comes back to like the frustrating element of it, of when you're losing, you can only blame yourself for the most part.
See, that's the thing I like about Bloodborne is that when I walk into a new area and I start, attacking an enemy and I see them not getting, like, it's just chip damage, I'm like, oh, I'm not powerful enough for this. I'm going back an area and I'm just going to grind. I'm just going to go through, listen to Hamilton, get my souls, and then put them into, my attack power and my health and come back.
Yeah. And that said, like, you do get stronger as you play the game. And so like when I come back to an older area from Sekiro, I'm like straight up taking out enemies. That said, like if I'm not careful, they will murder me because it is a Souls game. But for the most part, I'm doing more damage on them because you do as you beat bosses, you enhance your power that way. It's never a thing of, all right, I'm not beating this boss, so I have to go back and grind and come back. Sure. It's not really that thing. It's more so of a, hey, if you want to go back to previous areas of the game and not have such a hard time, the game allows you to level up in that way, which is nice.
Okay, I'll accept it. What else have you been playing?
I touched a little bit of that Persona 5 Strikers.
Ooh.
Yeah, I've been enjoying it. I don't have too much to say about it. I'm sure Barrett has a bit to say about it. There was a preview embargo that went up, and so we can touch on the things that they've mentioned in that embargo. But I'm impressed with it in the way that it feels like Persona 5. Like it feels like Atlas made this game, but with a different combat system almost. And that is like the highest compliment I can pay. Because like I'm talking to characters, I am walking around the world, and it very much feels like I am playing the same game until I get into like the combat stuff, or I get into like a dungeon and it's like, okay, no, this is different. This is a Muso game. But I enjoy being back in that world. I'm more curious on Barrett, like if you've played some of it, and do you have any thoughts on it?
Yeah, I played a chunk of it. I would agree, like, God, I would agree with you, and like it is one of those things when you're talking to characters and you're in cutscenes and you're getting the story, it's like this feels like this is the Persona studio doing this. And I do think they have a credit at the beginning, so I don't know like how much they like consulted on story and stuff like that, but it does really feel like they were maybe more hands-on with the story and stuff, helping out Koei Tecmo. And it felt like coming home, of just like those like those first couple of hours in those cutscenes, and just like this moment where like anime dad tells you like, hey, that's your room, like that means something. And I think they're doing an impressive amount of like making you feel like you're seeing family for the first time in a while. And And then as far as the like gameplay stuff goes, like it's like a lot of the social features are definitely more limited, but I'm really liking the combat, and someone who's like not into Musou Dynasty Warriors like games, which is like kind of the main reason I haven't really touched any of like the Hyrule Warriors games. I'm impressed of like, yes, this is a Musou game, but it is not at the same time. Like it is
it adapts the Persona 5 the combat system so well.
And you do have to be strategic. You do have to like sometimes kind of like hold down your Persona button, which I think is like L1, where you kind of like you call your persona, and you can like bring in some of the attacks that you can use with your persona. It kind of like slows everything down. You can take a little bit to like look around, see what you need to do next, see if you need to like change to a different character or heal people. Like it is very strategic, and I have gotten into a couple of fights where like a lot of the times it's like, all right, like you do like the stealth attack, and then you do like an all-out attack because you immediately like put them all down, like you immediately stunned everybody, and you get in and out of there, and it's really quick. And again, that is a lot of like the same feelings you get with Persona 5, or in some areas where you become overpowered and you're just steamrolling through fights, and it's such a good and satisfying feeling. Like I think the thing I've been saying, and I'll say it again here, is that like if Persona 5/Persona 5 Royal was like the anime, this is the fun anime movie, where it's like it doesn't have like this crazy story that's going to add a lot to the main plot of the anime, but it gives this fun excuse for these characters to come back again. It's a fun time, from what I understand of like, because it's been out in Japan for a year at this point. It's much short. It's like a 30 to 40 hour game. Like I'm really excited to continue and to just hang out with these characters and get the quippy one-liners and hear Ryuji say "for real" a million times and shit that. Like it's just I love these characters, and it's just like a fun excuse to hang out with them again, with honestly a battle system that I'm becoming more and more impressed with the more I play it.
Yeah, I love the comparison to it being like the My Hero Academia movie compared to the My Hero Academia like seasons of TV, because it definitely does feel that way, because you come back to it and it's like, all right, like the story here doesn't feel like it's affecting anything like really that much that's going on in the core story. That said, like the character interactions, the new stuff that they're introducing like feels fresh and feels cool in a way that I'm down for. Like I'm down to like play this game for less time than I played Persona 5, be done with it and be like, cool, that was like a fun side story. And so yeah, I'm from the preview so far, I'm enjoying it.
I want to tell you what I've been playing, but before then I have breaking news.
Whoa.
Naughty Dog's Neil Druckmann has responded to our tweet asking him what established IP he would want to make a game for. He's given us his top 5. I assume they're ranked. I don't know. We're going to start with number 5. Are you ready?
Yes.
Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah, fuck
oh my god!
Holy
could you
shit,
imagine?
that'd be dope. Blessing.
Oh my god!
Save it, because I think number 1's fucking dope as hell. Number 4, Hotline Miami.
Respect.
Right? Could you imagine a Naughty Dog fucking Hotline Miami game?
That fucking makes sense now. That's fun.
Number 3, Ghost Rider.
Oh,
okay.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Number 2, Half-Life.
All right, yeah.
Which would be ridiculous.
Could you imagine?
That'd be so fucking insane.
And then Neil Druckmann's number 1 established IP he'd want to make a game for, The Punisher.
Ooh.
Dude.
Can you fucking imagine a Punisher game from Naughty Dog? You want to talk about working with Marvel? Yeah, he fucking crushed that. It's blown up too, so now everybody's gonna beat us to this headline.
Yeah.
Let's put up the episode today. Who cares?
We gotta change the title of this episode now. Fuck, dude, that would be awesome. A Naughty Dog Punisher game. I would be all about that. Like that, actually, I would want that maybe over my maybe not over my Mission Impossible idea. Either way, I'd want that. That sounds awesome.
And I mean, especially as, you know, like MCU and all this other stuff's happening. Like, you know, I know how many people were heartbroken to see the Marvel Netflix shows get kind of blinked out of existence, right? Get John Bernthal, do the Punisher game, start it from ground up. You know what I mean? Not tie it to the Netflix stuff, but I thought John Bernthal's interpretation and character was so good.
Oh yeah, dude, Punisher season 1 was incredible.
Yeah. Well, I never watched it. I was weird. I was really hot on Daredevil. And then season 2 I fell off of, so I didn't even see that much of the Punisher.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, season 2, the second half of season 2 is whatever. The first half with the Punisher in season 2, I think is some of the best Daredevil there is. And then Daredevil season 3, also amazing. The Punisher season 1, if you like just straight up violent shit, that's basically what the Punisher is, and it is so good. Like John Bernthal is so good as that character. Highly recommend it.
For what I've been playing, obviously Hitman, which we talked about. My Bloodborne playthrough continues. Lost some steam last week. We did the stream on Wednesday. I went up against the Manatee. What was his name? Ro? Is that right? The Spider-Man?
Barbara Manatee?
Yes, Barbara Manatee.
Barbara Manatee, yeah.
From VeggieTales?
I want to say it was Ro or Roth or whatever. Something with R. That's the big
Rom.
Rom, the big creature that spits out the spiders. I did not like that boss battle at all. And then afterwards, excuse me.
The Manatee. So, I was like I was like, what Manatee is there in that game? That makes sense.
And then after that, I got into that section where we were playing on stream and it was a bunch of people and I had to get down. If I killed them, they'd eventually respawn. And I had to get down and kill the woman with the bell. And then, so like, that's just a huge fucking bitch of a thing to do because I'm not killing them fast enough and they're spawning before it. And I got annoyed with it on stream. And then it was my time to go to my Avengers thing anyway. And that night I turned it on and I did it again. And I got killed, and I did it again, and I got deeper, but I got killed. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. And I ran all the way through. I'm trying to get deeper into it and got killed. And I was like, you know what? I'm not enjoying this, and I'm not playing it, and I haven't picked it up since. So we'll see if that's where I get back, if I get back to Bloodborne, or if that's just the thing of like, I'm not having fun with this. So with that bad taste in my mouth, I've been bopping around to a million different things. Last week on PS I Love You, at the end when we did our PSN profile, we went and saw Mantis MD94's trophy list, if you recall. He had a bunch of platinums on there. And one of them was Road Bustle, which caught my attention, of course, because it took him like 10 minutes to platinum. So you bet your ass I went on the store, paid my 99 cents, got Road Bustle, which is a terrible fucking like Unity engine demo of like how you can make like a Frogger game and just trying to shoot across and it racks up points in your things and you eventually pop the platinum. I popped the platinum. I put it up online and somebody immediately responded, they also made a game called Chickens on the Road. And I immediately went and bought Chickens on the Road for 99 cents, which is somehow even worse, where you're just a car driving and you're running over chickens. And this is getting you a bunch of points that get you a bunch of trophies and then it's over. But as I've been doing that and tinkering with Hitman, obviously, which has been the main thrust as we get ready, I wanted to have something here for review. Again, sorry, it's not a PlayStation. Last night, Jen and I have been watching Night Stalker on Netflix. And usually what happens is for the true crime stuff, are you familiar with this, Bless, this Netflix show? It's a docu-series kind of thing.
No, I've not heard of it.
It's following this killer down in Southern California, right? The Night Stalker. And it's, multiple episodes. And usually when Jen puts this kind of stuff on, like I have to listen, I look at my phone, I do whatever. Sometimes I break out the game screen, play something else. And so when she had started episode 1 of this, it was like that. And then episode 2, I found myself more interested. And then episodes 3 and 4, I was all in. And like them trying to track down this killer. And the detectives are super interesting and humanized. And I loved their stories and stuff like that. It's, all real. It's interviews and, news footage and all this jazz. But when it was over, I tweeted, I was like, I want a game. Is there a game that isn't LA Noire where I'm a detective? Like I finished this and I'm in that mood that I want to keep that going. I want to run with that narrative thread. And so many kind of funny best friends wrote in with so many great suggestions. Lots of games I've already played. To everybody who said, why not play the Batman games? Go, fuck off. Like, I've played the Batman games.
I almost replied to
that too.
I fucking reviewed the Batman games. You guys would have gotten a pass. The people who were being serious, like, what? Have you heard of these Arkham games? Jesus.
People were serious about those.
What about Telltale? I was like, you shut the fuck up. And there was a couple other things on there that I played, like Phoenix Wright or whatever. I appreciate all the responses. And Phoenix Wright, I'm not known for. I'm not saying that. The ones that stood out were a lot of people were saying Disco Elysium, which when it was in Game of the Year running back in the 2 years ago, right? 2019.
Yeah, like
I'd gone and tinkered with, and it didn't seem like it was my jam. And plus I wasn't giving the full time and I wasn't in that mindset. But the other one that came up a million times was Judgment. And Judgment, of course, I was like, I saw it. I'm like, I know that name. What a name. And I'm like, oh, right. This is the one where you're the detective in the Yakuza-like game. That's from, and the Kind of Funny Game Showcase, we got to debut the voice acting cast trailer. And it was one of our big announcements or whatever. And I remember being so hyped for Judgment, getting Judgment, playing Judgment, and being turned off to it. And I only got I think midway through chapter 2 and stopped playing Judgment. And I think it was that weird thing of like, I remember being a game I said, I'll get back to one day, and just never did. So last night, enough people said it, and I was like, oh, right. Re-downloaded it, started last night. And this is like such a great example of when you're in the mood for a game. Like that shit fucking hit and slapped. And I'm like so excited to get back to it tonight. Because I think playing it now, like, I can see where I must not have been in the mood to do the usual Yakuza grind of trying to get to the next story thing, and you get interrupted by thugs and beat on them, right? It's the usual Yakuza like presentation jank. It's got a very distinct style to it or whatever, and like moving the camera around and trying to scan for like what's going on and what you need to investigate, and the way you talk to people to earn extra SP if you ask the right questions, kind of thing. Like I probably was not in the mood for that much of a slow, constant stop-go game of like, you play for a little bit, but then you got a bunch of cutscenes and you have to do these little interactive things. Now coming off of that and being in the mood for a detective game, I am so fucking in for this right now. Like I'm just totally going through Tax Story here, remember meeting the people again. I'm like, oh, I remember you. I liked you. All right, cool. What are we doing here? All right, okay. Go and interview this guy, interviewing them, asking the questions, presenting the evidence, doing stuff. I'm like, this is what I want right now. So it's that not rare thing, but I do think the amount of times I'm in the mood for something and you try a bunch of stuff, you're like, this isn't it. This isn't it. This isn't it. It was so fulfilling last night to hit it and just even have like the noir soundtrack and like having them be so detective-y about it. I was like, oh, this is exactly what I fucking want. So I'm enjoying that and can't wait to play more.
That's awesome.
And then Disco Elysium comes to PlayStation in March, so we got that going.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to try that out because I remember listening to podcasts of people talking about Disco Elysium, and I had not heard of it, and so it was like I think it was IGN UK when the game had first released, and they were talking about how usually I'm usually not into like this type of CRPG, and I'm that person too. Like I don't really interact with CRPGs that much. Like I tried Divinity Original Sin 2 and like fell off of it pretty quickly because that's just not my type of game. But even on there, they were talking about how much they enjoyed playing the game despite that, and how incredible it was, and that made me want to check it out. But I figured I'd wait for it to come to another platform because I didn't want to be married to my laptop at the time because I didn't have a gaming PC. And now it's coming to PlayStation. I definitely want to check it out when that comes through because we've heard so many good things about it.
Blessing, we ask people who watch our show or listen to our show to use something we call hashtag PSILOVEPHOTOMODE. This is where one of you plays a video game. Then you use the hashtag PSILOVEPHOTOMODE on Twitter. We go through it and we find the best photos. Each week we give you a theme. Blessing, last week you said Ghost of Tsushima.
Yes, I did. Bear, if you want to bring up the first runner-up. This is from Z Judo on Twitter. Is it up yet? Oh, there it is. I like this one. It has a good use of colors, right? With like the blue in the background being the sky. You can see pretty much all of Tsushima. And then Jin in the forefront with his mask that is like that I forget the name of this mask, but basically it's like a
fox.
Yeah, like the fox with like part of it is like cut off. He's wearing like this cool white robe. I'm totally down for it. Very into it. Shout out Z Judo. If you want to bring up runner-up number 2. This is from @StartingTooLate on Twitter.
This is beautiful.
This is another one where I'm a very big fan of folks who use color, especially within this game, because Ghost of Tsushima is a game that has a lot of vibrant colors. And so like this is one that's using like a lot of good use of red, standing in like a red flower field and then the sunset in the background, and they're kind of they have kind of like a good juxtaposition of each other. Very into it. Very pretty photo.
Very pretty.
And then Bear, if you want to bring up the winner.
Ooh.
This is from @Gareezy on Twitter. And it's another one, Jin standing on top of a rock with I was gonna say Ghost of Tsushima. With Tsushima in the background, you can pretty much see the whole island. But it has good use of focus. Like Jin is focused like mid-distance, and then Tsushima is super blurred, but it has like this really cool effect. Again, another one with like really good.
How much do you love this? Because it looks like the key art to Breath of the Wild.
You know what? That's probably a big part of it. This does look a lot like the key art to Breath of the Wild. Yeah, no, I'm into it. And then again, like really good use of color. And then Ghost of Tsushima is in the text is the font is in the bottom of the picture. Has like a really good look to it.
Hell yeah.
I dig it.
They're playing to what you like. They're like, oh, you like some of this? You
like colors, you like text, you like font.
Colors.
Yeah. No, shout out to @Gareezy. You win this episode's PS I Love Photo Mode.
And what you win is our applause. Congratulations.
Yes.
My theme for next week is similar to how I ran into this judgment thing of just something cool that I'm playing. I want you to do the cool thing you're playing right now, which probably sounds a little bit like a cop-out, but I mean, what is the cool thing you're playing right now? It doesn't need to be the world's biggest AAA thing. It can just be something you're really vibing on right now. I want to see you put up photo mode stuff from to hashtag PSILovePhotomode on Twitter so we can spotlight it next week when we do this giant PSILOVEYOU XOXO resurrection bracket. Remember, you have homework. kindoffunny.com/bracket. You need to go there, look at that, and then be here Monday, January 25th at noon so you can be the runoff votes for us and make sure we get everything the way we want it. But believe it or not, you have extra homework. Of course, we have trophies and chill where we usually run through your PSN profile. But today, Fody, F-O-D-Y, has this different kind of thing. Hey, Greg and Blessing. This isn't question, but more like a squad up type of thing. I would like to play the Fantasy Critic game this year, and I need listeners of the show to join the unofficial PSILOVEYOU XOXO League that I created. After we reach 14 players, the draft will start and probably take a couple of hours to complete. If you are interested in joining, head over to kindoffunny.com/Fody, F-O-D-Y. I made that today. He didn't put it in there. You guys can't command me to make URLs, but it was easier than the bit.ly link he had. So, of course, remember last year we did a Fantasy Critic League where we had a whole bunch of people come together and you draft games and you do it based on open critic points. No one knows who won last year. The results were lost. It was disturbing.
No, I think you know.
Oh, Gio won last year.
No, I don't. I think it was me. I think I won.
Dorbush.
I think I won by like a very large margin also.
Well, this week on the Kind of Funny Games cast, we are doing a larger version of the Fantasy Critic thing. Well, of course, this is all stolen kind of from Easy Allies. They started doing this native thing. But you should sign up for Fantasy Critic, which you can do at kindoffunny.com/Fody. We're doing the Games cast one with everybody, and it'll be a bigger thing and more people and more Kind of Funny, and it'll be all platforms. But we didn't want to forget the lineage of when we started it here. So I think Fody, you should go play with him. Kindoffunny.com/Fody if you want to play in the unofficial PSILOVEYOU XOXO Fantasy League on Fantasy Critic. And then remember, like I said, the bracket, kindoffunny.com/bracket for the PSILOVEYOU XOXO Resurrection bracket next week. Lots of homework for everybody. But I think you're all up to the task. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been PSILOVEYOU XOXO. Remember, if you are a Patreon supporter at patreon.com/kindoffunnygames, the show is not over. We have a post show to do. You can go there to watch it. You could be watching it live, just like Hype for Games is, Demetrius Newell is, Rocket Guardian is. Of course, you get the show ad free. You get it with that post show. You can be part of the show. You can be like Fody. You can have a good old time. Next week, watching live will be very important as we try to figure out what franchise from PlayStation's history is coming back to life. But if you have no bucks toss our way, it's no big deal. Thanks for watching on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames, roosterteeth.com, or listening on podcast services around the globe. No matter where we get the show, you get the show. We love making it for you. So please continue to support it. Leave a review, share it with your friends, and all that jazz. Until next time, it's been our pleasure to serve you.